civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit, but actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies. Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good afternoon to you. I know I'm popping up all over the schedule at the moment, but I will be in this slot next week as well. So 1 till 4 is where you'll find me. Lots to go through in the next 3 hours, and of course your calls. It's really important that we hear your voices, so please do get ready to call if you can do so safely, unless you're driving, of course. But love to hear from you on this. What we're going to be talking about through the next 3 hours is, one of them is about the high street and why is it we don't go to the high street anymore. I have got a plethora of reasons why I don't go to the high street anymore, but I'd love to hear yours. What makes it impossible for you to go to the high street? What do you not enjoy about going to the high street anymore? Because it is dying, and it is partly our fault because we're buying stuff online, we're not going to the shops, or at least I put my hand up to all of that. So do get ready to give me a call on that. We'll be discussing that a little bit later. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you straight back. So that's one of the topics we'll be talking about. We're also going to be talking about the non-crime hate incidents to be scrapped. Now, I never understood why the police were involved in non-crime, right? I mean, I think the writing's on the bucket, or whatever the line is. You know, I mean, if it's not a crime, why are the police even involved in it in the first place? Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So we'll be talking about that. It's being scrapped, which is a good thing. But will they wipe the records of all those people who have already got their names on records for these crimes? That's a good question. I'll be asking that a little bit later on. We're also going to be talking about Starmer cutting back number 10 briefings for journalists. Trump much? Mind you, he loves a briefing, doesn't he? He just doesn't love the journalists. So we'll be talking about that as well. And looking into why Donald Trump has declared he must have Greenland. He will have it. And also Russia launching major airstrikes. But the interesting point here is that Poland has scrambled its fighter jets. That is a huge move. We'll be discussing that with Sean Bell a little bit later on. Also, we have the celebrity chef Aldo Zilli, who's going to be talking to us about cruelty in the kitchen. So we'll be looking at that as well. And talking again about Andrew, formerly known as Prince, who has now been stripped of his gun licence. I mean, it doesn't get any better for him, does it? Or for the royal family. So all of that is to come. And of course, your voices absolutely throughout the whole show. So please do. This is all about you. So please do call in. Now, though, it's time to have a look through the top stories. And I'm absolutely thrilled to say David Wooding is here, columnist at The Sun. And we were just saying, weren't we, David, that we've spoken over the years many times, but never in person.
No, it's nice to be in the studio with you. Yes,
so nice. Good. Honestly, yes. It's such a bizarre thing. Because I looked at you and you looked at me and I do know him from somewhere. But because you see them on Zoom, it's a very different thing. So I'm delighted to have met you.
Good to be here.
Good Christmas present. Thank you. Right, let's go to the high street at the moment, and this is after a commitment by the post office boss saying that the branches that are there are not going anywhere. He wants to make them a hub for the community, I suppose like banks used to be, and also they are not going to get rid of cash, and cash is a big issue, isn't it? People are not using it as much, and a lot of places now are refusing to even take cash.
Yes, banks is a big issue, Petrie, because I think since 2015, 6,500 branches have closed.
Wow.
I've seen them in my own high street. Yeah. My own branch is still going at the bank I'm in, but others have closed, and building societies as well. They're closing down. So people don't have a way to get cash, and lots of people still use cash. 20%, I think it is, still use cash as their primary source of money.
I wonder if that's the older generation.
Possibly is. I mean, it's so easy now to do it with your card.
Yeah,
people have
it's too easy.
Their card on their phone as well. But cash can be an important, well, it's a lifeline for many people. And to be able to go and get money out of their branch at a post office, or to pay bills through the post office and do things, is really good. So this commitment from Neil Brocklebank is his name, the chief executive, shows that the 11,500 post office branches we have are there to stay. And they will be extending their services as part of the hub. They'll be selling things and being a bit of a centre of a community. As you say, Petrie, the high street is really struggling.
But we are all responsible for that.
Yes, it's online shopping mainly, but also, I mean, there's business rates as well, and the current government have been a major source of the business
especially
rates.
For hospitality.
Overheads are huge, and lots of you see lots of charity shops opening in town centres because they're given a lower business rate. They're given some kind of exemption, so it's easy. So you're ending up with lots of charity shops, lots of coffee shops, and not much else. And it's a bit of a shame, and there's speculation that something like 135,000 shops will close over the next decade, so that they will shrink, and you'll see some of these shops turning into homes, apartments, flats.
I mean, do you think that people like Amazon, for example, should be paying towards the high streets? Because they are, I mean, it's not their responsibility that I might buy something through their website, but you know, they are taking they've made it so easy for me that maybe they should pay back into into high streets.
It's a good suggestion, Petrie, but I wonder whether it's in their own interest to do that if they want people to buy stuff off them.
But it's different, isn't it? Because I know when round by me they put in a huge Tesco. Do you know the Hoover building?
Yes.
Beautiful building. So the front of it is still Art Deco.
Yes.
Absolutely stunning. You drive around the back and it's just a Tesco. But when they were planning, I've been there years, but when they were planning to put that in, the council there said, if we're going to allow you this superstore, you have to pay towards this community centre for as long as you're there. So they have to pay a certain amount of money every year towards a community centre, and they also had to pay a certain amount of money towards the surrounding areas as well, to parklands and things like that, in order to get that planning permission. And that to me sounded like a really excellent plan, because we're seeing all of these shopping centres get bigger and bigger and bigger, like Westfield. But what are they putting back into the community? That, for me, is probably quite an important question.
And another good example is football clubs. When they extend their stadiums, they knock some homes down to make way, and that part of the planning is to build new affordable homes in the area and help invest in the area. They're part of the area, and they are taking over the area, so they should put something back. I mean, the big shops that are going to be suffering, really, that we're going to lose, are shoe shops, because people buy shoes online now. I've seen shoe shops closing. Furniture stores.
I literally buy everything online.
Well, furniture stores. I mean, people go to the out-of-town places to buy furniture, and that's sort of thing. Clothing, people buy. I mean, how many? Again, the cost of this. I don't know whether that adds to the cost of buying something. See, particularly young people, they send off for a dress or something. They send off for 3 or 4, try them all on, look in the mirror, and then send back the 2 or 3 they don't want.
Free returns.
Yeah.
A lot of those companies are stopping those free returns now. Yeah, it's really interesting to me that how much of my world now is online. So I know I'm part of the problem, but also I can't drive, you can't park anywhere, you can't, and just get public transport. I can't go on public transport, I have a reduced immunity. So, they're not considering that people have different aspects to their lives, and they can't, just, cycle or just do that. It's just like, no, that doesn't fit everybody. And this is another reason why the high streets are dying. Let's move on for now. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on, don't forget. So I want to hear from you about why you don't go to the high street anymore, or is there one thing that you have to go to the high street for? Maybe you're somebody who likes to feel fruit, for example, and check its mangoes. Liars. All of them, liars. Avocados, liars. So you've got to be very careful with fruit and veg like that. But do give me a call, 03444 99 1000. Non-crime hate incidents to be scrapped. David, as you heard me saying before, I've never understood this. A non-crime has nothing to do with the police. No,
and there have been so many shocking incidents. I mean, Graham Linehan, the Father Ted creator, and there was a journalist, Alison Pearson, who was also paid a visit by the police, all usually for things like making a comment on social media, which is absolutely nothing to do with the police, and it's having a chilling effect on free speech. Also, of course, we've seen this, if we move into politics on this, people are now coy about expressing their political views online for fear of a pylon. And so there's no real political debate going on apart from the extreme elements of politics.
Absolutely, extreme left and extreme right.
And so the people, like probably a lot of your viewers and listeners, they'll have their own views, but won't want to go out there and get involved in.
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I've got Ofcom running through my veins, right? So I know how that all works, and I also know that it is not against the law to offend somebody, right? I'm allowed to offend as many people as I like, whenever I like, as often as I like. What I can't do is incite violence towards a particular group or a particular person. That has always been a very clear distinction on the freedom of speech. Because people say, oh, you haven't really got freedom. I say, yeah, I can say whatever. Honestly, nobody's ever told me what I can and can't say. I just know where the law stands. And the law is fairly robust on that.
Absolutely.
We don't need anything else. Just don't incite the hatred and violence towards somebody else. So I could offend you, but what I can't say is go and smack Wooding in the face, right? Yeah. Because that would be inciting violence. Yeah, but I can say that I think your face needs smack. I don't think it needs smacking. But what I can't say is go and do it. So it's already been very. I don't know why I picked that example.
No. I mean, the one I remember is you can say whatever you like, but it's wrong to stand in a crowded theatre and shout fire.
Yeah.
That is creating problems. You've got the free speech to say what you want. But yes. The interesting thing here is that the suggestion of stopping this comes from the chairman of the College of Policing, a chap called Nick Herbert, or Lord Herbert. He sits in the Lords. He was a former Conservative policing minister. So it's not the Labour government who are doing this.
Interesting.
It's the Conservatives who've come up with this idea, and he's saying it's time to stop police investigating this sort of behaviour. And yeah, I mean, I find it bizarre that police are really spending their time looking at tweets for a start.
But what's most offensive to me is that they are people who have been, listed as having offended somebody, are being bundled in with the same people who have incited violence and hatred, as it being the same crime, and that comes up in a job interview, or it comes up in your DBS checks. That is terrible, and I just wonder if now they're scrapping this, whether they wipe those slates clean, because that would only be fair. If you're saying it's not fit for purpose, it's not fit for purpose.
No, and it's bad enough for younger people in particular now. If you're, say, 25 and you're applying for a job, you'll have 10 years of social media content which they can scour through and look for some silly row you've had. I mean, we've already seen it with Nigel Farage, people digging back, 60 years, 59 years ago to see what he may or may not have said when he was at school.
I did say the fact they're having to go far back probably proves the point they don't want to prove. But, I mean, I'm no fan, but I'm just saying.
Yes, exactly.
Let's take a quick break, shall we? And we'll come back and discuss some more in just a moment.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. Just a reminder that we will be talking about non-crime hate incidences a little bit later on in the programme as well. So if that's your particular bag, and maybe you've been given one of these, maybe you're registered somewhere as having done this, do give us a call. 03444 499 1000. David Wooding is still with me, and we've got some more stories to go through. I found one that I particularly liked in one of the papers. It's actually this, I'm taking this from the Telegraph, which is train drivers on 80 grand a year deemed working class. Now, I find this fascinating, the whole class system. I've always thought that anybody that has to work is working class, right? Because none of us can sit back and take money from daddy and mummy. What do you make of this? Because they're equating it with money, and class has never come with money. We know a lot of classless people with a lot of money. Right.
Well, it raises the bigger, wider question of what does it mean to be working class?
Exactly.
Now, a train driver, yeah, you say it's a working class job, but they earn £80,000 a year. So
that's way above the median,
yes,
which is around 46.
And they're saying that police officers and prison officers who earn less than a train driver are not working class. They're middle class. Now, this is all about access to social mobility schemes that the government are offering to get people into the civil service, and they're saying that at the age of 14, if I've got this right, at the age of 14, they will decide whether they're middle or working class based on what their parents do. And they're saying that a train driver is seen as working class. They're also saying plumbers and electricians who are quite well paid.
Mine is. Yeah.
will be counted as working class.
That's a bizarre thing. What kind of person sits down and makes those sweeping judgments on people as well? It's an odd thing.
Well, I mean, I often wonder about this myself. I mean, I come from a working class background. I was in a 2-up 2-down terraced house in Liverpool, and but I don't go around boasting I'm working class or boasting that I'm middle class, because I may have done quite well for myself. I mean, at the end of the day, you are what you are, and my family were clearly aspirational to have helped me to get on themselves.
Well, Keir Starmer's working class. Yeah, are we saying that Sir Keir Rich Starmer is working class because his dad made tools? Apparently,
he's never told us that.
He's never told us that. But what he failed to mention was, I think his father owned the factory.
He owned the tool factory.
Yeah.
So he was upper working class.
He's working class then.
But Keir Starmer tried to tell us. I don't remember this, Petrie, about a year ago or 6 months ago, when he was saying he will not do anything to harm or overtax working people. He was asked, what is a working person?
He didn't know.
And he said somebody on he certainly didn't say anybody on £80,000. Somebody who couldn't afford to have a little bit of money put to one side, who could pay off a big debt.
How is that a working person? Somebody who works is a working person.
I think so. I mean, some people, and certainly this government at the moment, are obsessed with class and class warfare. I mean, I don't think people, for instance, who send their children to private schools are necessarily middle class or upper class.
No, I agree.
Because
a lot of people
working class people put all their money in to try and give their kids a decent education, because they see it as the only thing they can give their children other than love is a good education.
But that education will go against them if they try to get into Oxford, or they try to get into one of the brownstone, whatever they're called, universities, the Russell Group universities, because they're now saying that to choose people from public schools or private schools is wrong-headed. So that will actually stop them getting into the university. I mean, it is an. I don't know why there is this fuss over classes. I treat everybody the same. I don't care what your job is. If you're working, I'm also working, so we're even. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care what I do for a living. If we're working, we've all got to go out and work to earn money to pay the bills, and that makes us equal.
Absolutely.
That makes us equal. I don't get this Labour fascination with, oh, you're working class, you're blue collar, you're white collar. It's It seems rude, actually.
I mean, really, what we want is a meritocracy where people,
Oh my God.
people make
I
it
wish.
irrespective of their class background, their sex, or their
I
race. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
completely agree with that, but unfortunately, a meritocracy is a long, long way.
Absolutely.
A long, long way off. So what do you think? Do you believe that there is such a thing as working class? Does the money make a difference? Is 80 grand, does that make you middle class? Is it the money that denotes your class, or is it the job that you do? It doesn't irrelevant of all the money. You might earn $1 million, but if you're a plumber earning $1 million, you're still blue collar working class. I don't know. I don't understand it. Anyway, so I love that story today. That really got my brain ticking over. Another story here. Barry Manilow, facing surgery to remove a cancerous spot on his lung. He is 82 years old. Do you know when he started smoking? At what age?
I had no idea, no.
9.
Good grief.
He started smoking when he was 9 years old and switched to vapes when he was 72. So it's
Yes.
a long time smoking, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Goodness me.
And of course, you know, back then when he was a youngster, smoking was far more commonplace than it is now.
Especially with kids. I mean,
yeah.
you see kids in Asian countries smoking now, because
Yes.
that's where all the tobacco companies now are putting all their efforts, because in the Western world people are dropping smoking. So these rather cynical tobacco companies now are trying to sell them into poorer countries. And so you see a lot of children wandering around with I don't know what cigarette.
Well, I remember going recently to Saudi Arabia on a job with a politician, and you go into the bars there, apart from them all being men and all drinking Coca-Cola, they were all heavily smoking, and the room was just
Really?
full of smoke. And
We're so not used to that
because you're not
now,
used to
are
it
we?
now. No, it does hit you when you go to a country where smoking is permitted.
I mean, I
indoors.
used to be a smoker. I'm not. I'm a vapor now, but I used to be a smoker. I loved it. It's very bad for you, by the way. But I remember being able to get on the tube and smoke.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
And smoking,
Airplanes?
smoking carriages in trains.
Cinemas?
Yes, cinemas.
There was the smoking side and the non-smoking. Like that made a difference with the little ashtrays. Do you remember in the corner of the seats? Yeah, you could smoke. I mean, smoking on the tubes. I mean, we all were able to do that until the King's Crossfire, because they
that's
were
right.
wooden escalators. Do you remember that?
Remember the wooden escalators?
The wooden
yeah.
escalators. I remember them as well, because King's Cross was my local station. But yeah, I mean, you smoke on the platform. You go into a smoking carriage, smoking on the bus. On the
I
top
think
there.
even smokers now, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, I think a lot of smokers feel it's better
Oh, I completely agree.
not to smoke
Except
indoors.
for in pubs.
Yes,
Sozza.
pubs.
Pubs are different.
Maybe you could have smoking pubs
You
and
should
smoking
have.
rooms.
They,
smoking
do you know,
rooms.
they talked about that at the time, and they said, look, because it's the staff being subjected to the smoke. So there was a suggestion that there should be smoking pubs, but then the non-smoking pubs were like, but you'll get more people than us. So, you know, but smoking, I used to absolutely love going into a pub with my mates, and we'd have the ashtray. That was the, you know, piling. Just one more cigarette we could get into the ashtray before it all collapsed, and then coming around and it was all part of it. And smoke and it. I mean, I'm probably over glamorising it, but that was part of the culture. But would I have even started smoking if smoking had been banned in pubs? Probably not.
In the House of Commons, they still have a MP's smoking room, but you're not allowed to smoke in there now. And they've
got the terrace, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got
can
the
smoke on
terrace,
the terrace.
and they've also got a tea room, which is in fact a bar. It sells alcohol, so
Of course they have. Is it subsidised by us?
all subsidised.
All subsidised, even though they're really close to quite a few pubs,
Yeah.
bars and
Are they
restaurants.
middle class or working class in London?
Oh, I don't know.
They're on more than
Depends what their
£80,000.
parents
They're
did.
on more than
They are.
£80,000.
It depends what their parents did, apparently. Right, so that's, well, we wish you well, Barry Manilow. He says he'll be back to singing as soon as he's had this cancer removed from his lung. And at 82, still
We
going
wish him
strong.
well.
Yeah, and his voice is still really good. I mean, normally the voice is weakened, but his is still really, really good. What else have I got here? Let me see. This again always rattles my cage. Free NHS paracetamol. So it costs £9 for each prescription. Now, we all know that buying paracetamol across the counter can cost you as little as 30p, right? I'm cheap. So I'll go and get them at the cheapest possible place. But for people, the doctors that prescribe paracetamol, that costs us £9.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely.
What are we doing? Millions, I think it's 15 million pounds a year wasted in these prescriptions.
And all these people on free prescriptions as well, because I suspect if your income is such, or your age, you're entitled to free prescriptions.
Majority of people get free prescriptions in this country.
Well,
the majority, it's a huge number.
Large number. So rather than just go and buy a cheap box of paracetamol, you go to the doctors and get them prescribed, and then we pay £9.
That should be banned.
Yeah.
It should be banned. It really should. If you can't even go and spend 30p. But I was talking to a GP the other day who was saying that, you know, the problem is we get people coming in and we recommend something like Calpol, which I don't know who invented it, but he or she is a god. If you're a parent, you'll know what I mean. But so they'll say, right, we recommend Calpol to give your child. That'll get the temperature. And they go, oh, I can't afford it, so I'm not going to give it. So they have to write the prescription for it, because otherwise people don't take the drugs. And they know how to play the system.
And we wonder why the NHS we're pumping money into a black hole. Waiting lists are going up.
This is
operations
criminal.
are not being performed. I mean, this is part of the reform that is required. People are scared to talk about in politics about what you should be charging for in the NHS, but here's a good example of where.
Yeah, well, in the Scottish NHS, which of course they get their prescriptions for free, it costs the Scottish NHS £23 million to hand out paracetamol.
Good grief. Makes you want to reach for the medicine tablet to digest that one.
Makes you want to reach for the sherry at this time of year. David, thank you so much.
It's been
a real pleasure to see you. Thank you. David Wooding there is obviously coming live to keep us entertained. So thank you very much indeed. Right, quick break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good afternoon to you. This is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you through until 4 o'clock. We've been talking about the high street. I asked you earlier about why you don't go to the high street. We've got a couple of messages here before I go to our guests on this. This one, M, says, to go to the high street town centre, I have to pay for parking and green zone. So it's 15 quid before I've even left my car. And this will be the reason that a lot of people don't go. And other people are saying, look, they're just a mess. Why would I go there? They're just not nice places to go. So give me a call on this, 0344 499 1000. Joining me now is Tatan Spiller, who's the founder of Simple Politics. Tatan, good to meet you. Thank you very much indeed. Look, this is on a personal level. A lot of people are suggesting that the high street is just a dump now and they can't even park without it costing a fortune. But actually, it's dying for a reason, isn't it? Our high streets are dying.
Well, the world has changed. The world has moved on. It isn't what it was. We don't go to the grocer and the butcher and the candlestick maker, even though my wife has a lot of candles right now, a lot of candles.
We always find a way. We always find a way.
We still use those things, but we don't go to those shops. Those shops don't exist in the way they used to. So your kind of idyllic trip where you pootle about the high street, popping nice things into your bag, saying hello to the person here, saying that's nostalgia. That's not a thing anymore. And yeah, people have to pay, £15 just to get to town is a lot. But the bus the bus price is capped at £3. So you can, if there are bus routes, they can run you into town.
I mean, that's all right for us, right, with multiple high streets in London. But if you're living in a rural area and your high street's a bit of a dump anyway, you're really going to wait for the one bus a week to take you to the high street. I mean, literally, councils are a lot to blame for this.
I think that's. Tell me how the council's to blame.
Well, they're the ones trying to make money out of parking schemes. They're the ones that are trying to close down high streets and put cycle lanes in. They're the ones that are doing all these pavement areas. And that's fine for people who are able-bodied and young, but you've got people who aren't, and they can't go, buses are not fit for everybody.
Well, I think that the council's having to make money from car parking because they're so squeezed to look after the people that the councils need to look after. It is not fun being a councillor in 2025 trying to make things add up.
It's not fun paying extortionate council rates either and getting nothing back for it and being excluded from your high street. And they are responsible for the businesses that set up on those high streets, and yet they make it almost impossible for people to go into those shops.
What do you mean? I mean, here in Whitstable, I'm in Whitstable in Kent, and we have this wonderful place called She Sells by the Sea. Easy for you to say. And they are local marketers who come and pop up, and it's local artists and things. And the council's made that work, and it's a collective, and it's on our high street, and it's brilliant because we've got some empty shops. Everywhere's got empty shops. But the way to get the high street back is to visit it. There is nothing else. It cannot be subsidised. It is not a Disneyland that someone else will maintain if you don't. The council can only be culpable to some extent. You cannot sit at home and be sad that something you haven't supported has gone.
Yes, but it's chicken and egg at this stage, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the high streets now, and if you're in London, you'll see them all the time in little areas that are completely derelict, and you're not going to go there for the one charity shop. It's almost too late for some areas, and I do get really frustrated when people talk about the ease at which people can use public transport or they can cycle. Those are people who've never had a problem with their health. Those are people who've never, not yet, are old. These are people who don't fear being bullied and attacked for being disabled. I mean, it is not everywhere is Whitstable. And I think that councils, and I know Whitstable well actually, because a friend of mine's got a cottage there, but it isn't. And so the idea that councils don't bear the brunt of this responsibility, I think, is naive.
Well, you talk about chicken and egg, and I think the pandemic just destroyed all chickens and all eggs, right? That they've both gone. And sitting around blaming people, and sure, I mean, councils having to make tough decisions might well have made decisions that have been counterproductive. We talk about the minimum wage going up, and that's great for so many people, but then some business shop owners who pay a lot of people minimum wage really struggle with it. That's what all politics is. It's making difficult decisions and trying to stick to the ones you've made and justify them, right? And hope that they come out on top. Yeah. But the pandemic destroyed the high street in so many ways, including that we got so used to shopping online. We were going there anyway. Amazon made our lives so much easier anyway. But when we've discovered that we don't have to go Christmas shopping ever at all, not for the turkey, not for the presents, not for anything, it'll all come to us. And it's cheaper for me not to have to bother to leave the house.
So what saves the high street then? If we don't need to shop there, we're going to have to want to shop there. And that is where the councils come into making it easier for people to get there, easier for people not to have to pay 15 quid before they even leave their car, and make it better for shop owners and with the local rates.
I think experiential stuff, yes, exactly that. But also we have to know that shops and the high street is such, it is one spending pressure on the council. It's so easy to say councils do this, councils do that, and I completely agree that some councils have made some serious errors, and others have made other errors. Like this is bad, but would you want social care being disrupted to pay for more high street services?
Do you know, I'm so bored of that argument as well. I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to say it, because we are still the 5th richest country in the world. It's not my fault that the money that we give in tax is being mismanaged by councils, and it is being mismanaged by councils and governments. I'm bored of it. You can't have this because otherwise you can't have that.
Petrie,
it's too much. I'm so sick of it.
You are shaking the magic money tree, Petrie. You're giving it a good old tug.
Well, where is the money going then that these councils are raking in? And they're now, southern councils are now able to sort of charge us whatever they like. We won't see any return on that.
Well, I mean, there is a social care crisis.
I mean, we are the money tree. We're the money tree that is constantly shaken. Constantly shaken.
Yes, but we live in, again, for me, it all comes down to the pandemic. The pandemic increased the need for spending and it reduced our capacity to spend. So both of those things being squeezed at the same time.
And not the billions of pounds that were given to mates and wasted on products.
Oh, no, of course. That's really not helped us. I'm not saying let's do that again. Let's set this whole thing ago.
I'm literally just othering you because you othered me. So I'm just saying, I think that's only fair. Tatton, I know you've got to go. Otherwise, I would love to continue this. I love sparring. Good to talk to you. Thank you.
Nice to chat to you.
Very good. Tatton Spiller there, founder of Simple Politics. Well, joining me now is Michael Kill, who is the CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association. Michael, I don't know how much you heard of that. It's lovely to meet you, by the way. Thank you for joining.
Lovely to meet you as well, Petrie.
Actually, I'm tired of all these excuses that we keep being given about why the high street is dying when there are people who are pouring poison over the high street.
Look, for once, I agree. Hospitality, nighttime economy has really been the crux of this position. You know, we're seeing these empty shops. We're seeing challenges with establishing new opportunities in terms of hospitality and nighttime economy. But, you know, for us, it's been mismanagement from sort of day dot, really. When you go back to 2020 all the way through, we're now seeing, as we've all heard, £20 billion black holes appear a month or two before budget. And when we're hit with, escalated taxation, which is, in all honesty, at this point, moving into Q1 next year, is hugely worrying and frustrating. The anger is really starting to rise. So there are a lot of questions around the government, cabinet, and particularly the leadership of the current government. And subsequently, I think there are some challenges at council and local authority level which need to be addressed, some which is through mismanagement, some which is through lack of funding coming through. So I think there's a two-tiered approach to that. But without a doubt, it seems to resonate around the government and the way that they've managed things moving forward. And they're running out of time to blame. There's only so many years you can go on, keep blaming the previous regime. But at some point, they've got to be accountable.
But also, look, I accept some of the blame for high streets because I have health issues, so I can't go into crowds, right? And so I don't do that. I choose not to do that for obvious reasons. So I'm part of the problem, if you like. But I'm so tired of there not being any people not taking responsibility in this country, and councils should take responsibility. They're the ones dishing out licences, they're the ones that are dishing out properties, they're the ones that are closing high streets with stupid parking schemes, they're the ones that are, doing all of these things, saying, oh, just cycle. Well, not everybody can. And so if you've got a pub that closes on a high street, then what's the reason to go to the high street? So it's not our fault in a way if there's nothing to go there for.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we go back, and I spoke to an Australian counterpart of mine, Michael Rodriguez, who's a 24-hour commissioner down there, and he said, listen, he said, we've got a big task ahead. We've created this couch culture. You can order your food, you can order your drink, you can speak to your family, you can speak to your friends. Everything comes to you. We now need to reverse that mentality, and that's part of the issue. This digital economy of, even when you talk about nighttime economy, the social and cultural economy of it, people are detached. There's social anxieties amongst people, young people now, that they don't want to come out. So when you look at that, that sort of beds into the daytime and evening economy in the way things are here, because they're so used to doing it online. Actually being in front of someone is quite awkward, and I think the one thing is we're not quick enough to react. We're not quick enough to change policy and adopt a different approach. There are some really good opportunities where things like planning and licensing slow down the process. We know full well that we spoke many years ago about hospitality and nighttime economy being the savior of the high street, but it's so hard to get a license and to get into these spaces in terms of planning and use. It's literally been cold and slowed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly, and it needs to be addressed, and it is to a point, and we're seeing small grassroots, but it needs to move faster, because we're going to get to a point where the high street is not going to be an attractive opportunity. It already is a challenge, but at the moment we're worried that it's going to go past the point of no return.
But you guys in hospitality particularly are a remarkable bunch of people, because you're very good at adapting and changing. We saw that during COVID. We saw how much work you guys put into to making sure people felt safe in spaces when they were able to go out, into making sure that you were providing food in other cases. So you're incredibly adaptable. If we reach the point at which the hospitality industry can't adapt, then that has gone too far, right?
Well, we've pretty much been taxed to a point of being crippled by the whole sort of tax system. I mean, it's incredible what we've looked at. If you look at from 2020 till the last couple of years, we're 20 to 30% more expensive to operate. At the last budget, we then had to find independent business had to find another 30 to 80 grand. We're now looking at business rates bills that are potentially an average about 76% higher. 50% of nightclubs are seeing a 50% increase in their business rates. So when you look at that, you're talking about a 40 to 50% operating cost increase, which is unsustainable. Without a doubt, there are entrepreneurs in our sector that will work really hard to pivot and shift, and we're seeing things like day parties, we're seeing pre-midnight clubbing, we're seeing all sorts, but we also have to rely on a level of infrastructure. There's no transport after midnight. The safety and policing on the street post-midnight is making women and groups of people feeling unsafe. So the reality is some of it is going to be meeting us halfway, and at the moment I think there are without a doubt fiscal challenges, and people have got less money in their pocket, because we talk about giving people money back, we don't talk about what we're taking away or what we're taking out of the pocket.
Interestingly, the government now saying that their scheme to get young people back to work is to foist them on the hospitality industry, and you're going, well, hang on a minute, you can't have it both ways. You're going to say, oh yes, we're going to, but there's not going to be any jobs, because they're not helping you sustain those jobs. It's crackers.
Well, the challenge you have is when the NIC threshold lowered, we saw a huge amount of work trying to balance the ship, and what we saw is some of those staff not being able to be sustained within those environments, and it was placed on the salaried staff or the landlords to keep things going. So we lost a huge amount. We lost, I think it was at the time, it was about 90,000 odd staff that were taking away from circulation. The problem is what they're saying is, oh, we're going to push them into hospitality, but there are no jobs to go to.
That's exactly.
So I don't know what jobs they're chasing after. It's just surreal. It's almost like there's a huge disconnect.
Yeah, and most of us have had at some point many enjoyable years working in hospitality. I was one of them. Just before I let you go, the minimum wage issue as well, that has knock-on consequences. Two, do you broadly support the minimum wage changes, or do you think that now is not the time to be doing that?
I think anyone in the business wants to pay their staff the best that they can, but you can only pay what the business can afford.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reality. So if it's unaffordable and it means that people lose jobs, it's counterproductive. So I think there needs to be a balance. I think the problem is what we've done is been taxed to such a point that the resource or funding for staffing has to be a focus in terms of that reduction. So for us, it's counterproductive as it sits at the moment. And if businesses can't afford to pay the minimum wage, they're going to reduce those staff numbers. That has an impact on service. That then has impact on the identity of our sector as a whole. So I think there are lots of things that need to be considered, and we're just not getting it in the right space at the moment.
Well, you need a hospitality MP, which you haven't got. That's what you need. Somebody in there who's fighting for hospitality, because you haven't got that at the moment.
Without a doubt, I think it's important. Without a hospitality minister or a nighttime economy minister like they've got in Australia would be perfect.
Absolutely, I'm all for that, and I hope it's you. Good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a Merry Christmas, won't you? Michael Kill there, CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you, even wearing a slightly Christmassy shirt, red velvet if you're listening on the radio. But that for me is as far as I go at Christmas, because I am the personification of the Grinch. But I have done this for you, so I hope you appreciate that. We've been talking about shopping on the high streets, and I've been asking you why you don't go to the high streets anymore, because a lot of us are not going to the high streets, and there are usually quite a few reasons for that. G-Bus says, ban online shopping, that's the cure, don't you dare. That means I have to be amongst people. No, we're not doing that. Also, the internet has screwed the high streets. I honestly agree that the internet and people like me buying online have our part to play in this, but the councils have got to take responsibility as well. And Steve just says, hi Petrie, what about going shopping with a couple of kids in town, maybe a buggy or a pram, then carry a bunch of carrier bags on a bus, off a bus? Charges for parking in town centres is criminal. Completely agree. Although when my son was in a buggy, I used to like, do you remember Buckaroo with the donkey that you hang things on? Well, when he was in a buggy, it was always, I used to play buggy buckaroo, see how many bags I could get onto the handles, and it was always that last lipstick or that last something, the boo, tip the buggy upside down. Right. He's fine, by the way. It doesn't hold me responsible. Yeah, with a baby in it. Yeah, absolutely. But the game was to catch it before it hit the ground. I'm just saying, a mum's got to find joy somewhere, and that was my joy, so don't judge me. He still talks to me. Sandy's in Glasgow. Hello, Sandy.
Hello there. I'm in a small town just outside Glasgow, 7-8 miles east of Glasgow. You were talking with a councillor earlier. I have been talking with my local council as a member of the National Federation of the Blind. Now, I'm a blind person myself, and I have had training to get out and about using a long white cane. Mm-hmm. And it is now impossible to go down my high street because of cafe furniture.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
We are trained to follow the building line, and the bylaw states that there should be a 2-metre corridor along the building line. But of course, this is now taken up by cafe furniture. Now, I've offered an alternative to the council, which is approved by councils, governments, etc., tactile paving along the pavement.
Oh, that bumpy, that slightly bumpy.
And it is hardly used in this country at all. It's a series of corduroy, 5 bars, corduroy bars, and you could follow this anywhere with a cane. Now, if that was put down in the middle of the
that's on the ground, Sandy, is it?
We could then access all our shops.
So you would just follow it round because I've got a lot of blindness in my family. So I always look at high streets with the eyes of if that doesn't sound too weird, the eyes of somebody who how will blind people manage with this, because it's not just cafe culture, but it's also street furniture, signage, wooden signs saying, come this way for a coffee or whatever. They seem to be dotted all over the high street pavements as well.
Yes, absolutely. And then we got cars parking on the pavement to pick up their takeaway food.
Yeah.
And various pot plants and all sorts of other
and not to mention silent but deadly cyclists.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And e-scooters.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that someone mentioned was bus travel. Now, you probably see, and certainly in London, I'm sure you've got them everywhere, cycle lanes. Mm-hmm. Now, for blind people and other elderly and disabled people, to get access to the bus, very often we have to cross a two-way cycle lane to get on and off a bus.
Yeah, there's those so-called floating bus stops. Yeah, they're all down Chiswick High Road. It's one of the places that I know. I always think that.
Therefore, bus travel is a no-go for many of us.
I mean, that's what I was trying to say to my earlier guest, right? The people who often go, oh, you can just get on a bus, or you can cycle, or you can, it's only £3. It's like, well, what world? You're living in such a selfish world that you're not thinking about people who can't do that, for who it's dangerous to do that.
Councils are there to make our streets accessible.
Thank you.
That's what we have the Equality Act for, yet they just disregard it completely.
I am with you 100%, Sandy, and this is why I'm so sick and tired of the argument. Well, you can't have everything. It's like we're paying you a lot of money to do certain things, and one of them is to, like you said, the Equalities Act, and to protect people from being mown down by a bike.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Absolutely, I am, Sandy. Thank you so much for calling in. Lovely talking to you. Have a great Christmas, won't you?
And you.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye. Sandy there in Glasgow speaking for the blind. And honestly, if you just spend 1 minute when you're next walking down your high street and just have a think that you're sighted so you can dodge around these things, but just imagine somebody who isn't, and you suddenly see the world in a completely different way. Got a voice note here from David in Harold Wood.
I don't go to the shops on the high street because where I live there aren't any. Or as a wheelchair user, I can't get in. And also, I like to buy wool because I like to knit. So, unfortunately, most of the wool shops I would like to use have closed down because of having to order stuff online. And I have to order some other stuff online, like epoxy resin, because they don't sell that the price that I'm prepared to pay for it.
Yeah, that's such excellent points. If you've got any other ability, if you're slightly othered, you don't fit into what councils think everybody is. Listen, give me a call on this. We're going to continue with this. 0344 499 1000, and you can also send me a message on 87222. If you put the word talk up front, it comes through to here in the studio. Stay where you are. We're back for more in just a moment.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good afternoon to you. It is Petrie here with you until 4 o'clock. I love getting texts like this. This makes my day. Petrie, Merry Christmas. Good to have you on at a sensible hour. Those of you who don't know me, I'm normally on at 10 until 1 at night, which I love. Says, don't agree with many things you say. My favourite. However, I love hearing the opposite to my own thinking, as I'm often wrong, or my wife tells me I am. If we're both saying it, you're wrong. But I do agree with you on the high street argument, Charles. Thank you for confessing all. Look, not agreeing with me is not required. I mean, you're allowed to not agree with me. That is the whole point of conversation, isn't it? And we learn something from each other. That's the whole point of not agreeing. It's not to shout at somebody or to say, oh, you're wrong. Except obviously you are, Charles, because your wife said you are. But anyway, thank you for the message. So we've been talking about the high street, still taking your calls on that, the death of the high street. What is it that's stopping you from going to the high street? 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you straight back. You can also message the word talk and your message to 87222. Lots to come in this hour. We're going to be talking to Ross Clark at the Sun, and we're going to be talking to Sean Bell. Or is that the next hour? No, that's in the next hour. But Ross Clark is going to be talking to us about Keir Starmer cutting number 10 briefings for journalists. I bet he does, until they start saying nice things about him. But for now, non-crime hate incidents are to be scrapped. It is going to be replaced with a new common sense system where only a fraction of such incidents will be recorded under the most serious category of antisocial behaviour. The NCHI, the non-crime hate incident, falls short of being criminal but is perceived to be motivated by hostility or prejudice towards a person with a particular characteristic. They stay on police records indefinitely and can come up in background checks. How or why when they're non-crime? I don't get it. If it's not a crime, then why is it coming up on background checks? To discuss this and other things to do with this, with me now is Connie Shaw, spokeswoman for Free Speech Union. Hello, nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Now, this is something that the freedom of speech, I've always understood, it's quite clear what the freedom of speech is. You can say anything you like and offend anybody you like, providing you don't incite violence or hatred to a particular demographic, right?
You would think so, but as you've just outlined, Petrie, the definition of a non-crime hate incident, that it is solely reliant on the perception of the alleged or perceived victim. So it's all down to the person who feels like or has essentially just been offended. And like you say, these can be recorded against someone's name even without their knowledge, because they don't require necessarily an investigation to be recorded. So anyone may have one of these on their records without even knowing it. We've seen ridiculous examples of these. One of the most famous ones actually went to the High Court. Harry Miller, of course, he had a non-crime hate incident recorded against him because he expressed his gender-critical views. We've even had non-crime hate incidents investigated against 9-year-old children for saying some mean words to others in the playground. And of course, we had another case, Helen Jones. She was visited by the police for calling for a Labour councillor to resign over some matter. Like, this, it is really insane. Although this is great movement towards policing our streets and not our tweets, but we're proceeding with cautious optimism, because we don't know what's going to happen about all of the previous non-crime hate incidents that have been recorded.
To speak to you about is to say, look, if this has now been deemed not fit for purpose, then surely everybody who has been put on these lists, it should now be wiped off them.
Well, that hasn't been clarified, and that is why Lord Young, Toby Young, our General Secretary and founder, and obviously Conservative here in the House of Lords, he will not be withdrawing his amendment that he has placed on the Crime and Policing Bill, which specifically says to scrap non-crime hate incidents, but also to delete all of the records. Yeah. And that hasn't been set out here. So we're still fighting that battle, and that's what we're going to continue doing. But it really is such a stain on the way that the police operate. 60,000 hours a year are estimated to be spent on these. 90% of crime went unsolved in 2023, yet 13,000 cases of these non-crime hate incidents were recorded up to June in the year 2024. So it's a disaster, really. And of course, non-crime hate incidents came about after the horrific racist murder of Stephen Lawrence in the 90s.
Yes, a lot of people think this is new.
Yes,
this is not new. They've been there for a long time.
So it was good.
Social media's new,
yes,
I suppose.
Yeah, it was good-willed originally, and it was to help police try and track basically community tension, to try and prevent something so horrific happening again that was motivated by racism. However, the way that the non-crime hate incidents have been used beyond that, it's become so broad that people expressing their lawful views.
But this is overreach. This is classic government overreach. This is classic wedge in the door, which concerns me about things like ID cards and things like that. They cannot help themselves. And the other thing that concerns me is the idea that it is replaced with common sense. What does that actually mean? Does that mean that one police officer will say, nah, that's nothing, and another will go, actually, I find that offensive?
Well, precisely, we don't know the details yet, and that's why it's so important that hopefully that Toby's amendment will carry through on the Crime and Policing Bill, because it needs to make sure that, you know, even when it comes to this common sense thing, you know, what does that mean by common sense? I'd be reluctant to trust it too, and obviously we don't know.
What we need is the very like with Ofcom, I was saying earlier on, I know what can and can't be said by me and by you, right? It's drilled into me, largely because one of my old employers would make us pay the fine if we got it wrong. But so you learn very quickly what is allowed to be said and what isn't allowed to be said. It is actually very simple. When people say we've got no free speech in this country, yes, we have. We really do have, providing that one thing. It's not about hurting somebody's feelings. You're allowed to do that. And somebody is allowed to be offended, and I get offended by what people say to me, but they're allowed to make me offended, right? What they can't do is recommend that I get, often messages saying, oh, you need to be raped or whatever. That's where it crosses a line. But even then, if they're not saying it directly that they're going to do it, it's very difficult to prove that that's what they meant. So I don't know why it's so complicated when actually it's so simple.
Well, one of the issues that we have in this country is that because our laws are very complex, we don't have a codified constitution like the US does. We don't have anything like the First Amendment, which is very clear, and that's one of the things that we're hopefully going to be recommending.
And yet that's being blown all over by the Trump administration, so I wouldn't hold up America's constitution.
There are absolutely
right
criticisms to be had, but the difference is no matter who's in power in the US, they always have the First Amendment. So even if very valid criticisms of the way that this administration is operating, the First Amendment is still there. In this country, it really does depend on who's in power and the laws that are being passed. Now, Lord Young is doing a review of all of our speech laws for Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, and we think that it would be appropriate if we had something like potentially the First Amendment in this country, where everything is legal to say and lawful to say, unless it incites violence. But the idea of inciting violence in this country is far more broad than it is in the US. It would be far more appropriate if we had something like the Brandenburg test, like they have in America, where something is only inciting violence if it's intended and likely to cause imminent lawless action. So even that horrible thing that you referenced just there, unless it was likely to cause imminent lawless action, then that might not even be considered incitement, and that's the price that we have to pay with freedom of speech. If you want proper freedom of speech, we have to accept that some people will say horrible things, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be allowed to say it.
No, I completely agree with that, and certainly somebody with any kind of profile is used to having horrible things said to them for absolutely no reason, and that's fine. I literally don't care, by the way. I'm so thick-skinned now that I literally you can say anything. I don't care anymore, because I've realised that it's up to me if I'm offended or not. Right? In a way, it's like I can either be offended and it can ruin my day, or I can just go, you're a numpty and you're probably living in your mother's basement wearing dirty underpants. That's what I always imagine when I get a hate message.
Absolutely. I would say it's very much a you problem if you feel so offended by what other people say, but that's obviously the issue at hand here. And the Free Speech Union has been at the forefront of campaigning it. I mean, ever since the Free Speech Union was set up in 2020, we have been campaigning against these non-crime hate incidents. And the initial sort of announcement from the Met Police a few weeks ago that they would stop investigating non-crime hate incidents, that came the very day that the CPS dropped the charges or potential charges against Graham Linehan after he was arrested by 5 armed police officers at Heathrow for some tweets that he made. And now they have made, well, there has been this announcement from the College of Policing that they will no longer recall them. We just hope that the Home Secretary will accept this and that the amendment is also passed in the Crime and Policing Bill.
The other problem with it is that these non-crime hate incidents have empowered certain people from certain groups to be vexatious, to say, I don't like that, I don't like that you said that, so I'm going to report you to the police, and then calling discrimination if the police don't look into it, and then so it's not the police are in between the devil and the deep blue sea in that regard, because then there'll be complaints that they didn't investigate something that somebody was offended by. So stricter guidelines, the likes of which you're talking about, seem to be the only way to get through this.
Yeah, one of the huge issues and one of the reasons why we should all be reluctant to trust what they're referring to as common sense is the way that police are trained at the College of Policing. Exactly. They have been really captured by gender ideology in particular and treating what we refer to as hate crimes as being particularly serious. And I would say personally that there is evidence that you're referring to that, for example, trans activists have been able to really manipulate the police to go after people who are frankly just expressing their lawful views. They may be offensive to some people, but the end of the day, there is absolutely no justification for throwing people into prison for tweets. And obviously now Labour want to get, or David Lammy in particular, obviously some backbenchers disapprove of this, want to get rid of jury trials for certain offences of more than 3 years. Obviously most speech offences, they're less than 3 years. So most jury trials that would have gone ahead if David Lammy gets his way, people who are charged with speech offences may not be heard by a jury, and we know from the data that you are twice as likely to be acquitted by a jury if you plead not guilty.
Because juries live in the real world. I don't think he's going to get that through.
I'd be very, very surprised.
I'd be so shocked if the backbenchers went for that. I mean, that is an erosion of 800 years.
It's so ironic that people claim, well, reform are a threat to democracy. This government is possibly the most authoritarian government we've seen in recent times. The way that they're going about, cancelling elections, trying to get rid of jury trials. I mean, the list is endless, essentially.
Now cutting back on even talking to journalists, which I'm going to be talking about later on. I mean, honestly, and trying to cull our right to protest and all of those things as well. It's so interesting to me because it's the drip, 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 isn't it? And people don't really notice it, that things are being curtailed. And the oxygen is being sucked out of the room by these non-crime hate incidents, because actually there's awful lot, as you've been saying, an awful lot else going on we should be paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one step in the right direction, but there are so many other things that we're concerned about, whether it's jury trials, the Islamophobia definition, what we have still not seen, the lack of transparency around that, and consultation has been absolutely shocking, and just the general perception, I think, that this government in particular is particularly worried. It seems as though they're particularly worried that we're somehow one tweet away from huge civil unrest, and actually I would say that the fact that there has been so little civil unrest in this country shows how civilised the British people are, because I would say that we're being mugged over constantly by this government. Yeah,
well, I don't disagree at all with any of that. Connie, a pleasure to meet you. I hope we'll talk again. Thank you very much indeed. A spokeswoman there from a Free Speech Union. Stay where you are. I'll be back in just a sec.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. I promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you, and we've been talking about the High Street as the Post Office has declared that it is not going to shut down any of its 11,000 plus positions on High Streets, and in fact it's going to expand to provide more and more services, so hopefully that will rescue some high streets perhaps if people go to the post office and then they'll do other bits of shopping. But I was just wondering what it is that puts you off going to the high street, and I think that they've changed so much. I've got a lovely message here, actually. Let me just go, because I remember these days as well. See if I can find it. Oh, here we go. This is from Ian. He says, I remember in the 80s saving up to go to the high street to maybe get an album and some sweets from Woolworths, from Woolies. Do you know Woolies still exists in Australia? They shut it down here. Anyway, if I was really flush, we'd even go to a cafe for a coffee and a sausage roll. Classic days. Oh, Ian, I loved that. We did. We used to save our pocket money, I used to go into Banbury, in Oxfordshire. That was my local town, on the bus. So you go into Banbury and you'd buy the latest single. It's the most exciting moment of your life. And then to Wimpy. That's what we used to do. We used to go to the Wimpy. And then home on the bus again. It was the greatest adventure. I think I was probably about 11 or 12. Kids don't do that anymore, do they? But it was absolutely fantastic. Classic days, Ian, you're absolutely right. But they have so changed now. Talking of change, Banbury is completely unrecognisable now from when I was a kid. If you beamed me into there now, I wouldn't know where I was. So why have you stopped going to the high street? What is the reason that you no longer go? So I'm taking your calls on that, and also non-crime hate incidents. Do you trust that they're going to be scrapped, and what does it mean that they're going to be replaced by common sense? We know that that's in limited supply in this country already. Louise is in Kent on that. Good afternoon to you, Louise.
Oh, hi. Yes, it's a couple of things that just don't make any sense. One's about the high streets. The other one is about this non-crime hate incident, because they're taking that away, and yet the workers' rights bill is just coming in, which will mean you won't be able to say things in pubs in case you offend people, and then you could either get banned, so you've got the police in there watching you, and yet they get rid of the non-hate, and both of them actually are things that people have said to people, then report people. So this doesn't make any sense. They take one thing away and put the same thing back in again.
Because this is in place, I believe, in Scotland, that bar staff can report. I think I'm right in remembering this, that in Scotland there's already a law about offending people in pubs. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm half Scottish, so I know what a drunk Scot is like, and we offend everybody. So it's really, that's our national sport. It's also called humour as well. But yeah, I think that is already the case in Scotland. And you're right, the workers' rights bill, people are not looking at it closely enough, and they're just blanket saying, oh, this is a really good thing. And I'm completely in agreement with you. Just because you hear something that offends you, or a joke that you don't like, it doesn't give you the right to call the police.
No, and this is the whole problem with all of this now, that it's got so muddly, and what Labour are doing, I think, is it's actually quite frightening. So there's that bit, but also I was thinking about the shops, because I don't know why more use is not made, actually, of the park and rides, because surely, like, I'm near Ashford in Kent. We've got a great big MacArthur Glen outside, which now is full of shops. Now it's absolutely full for the first time ever. It's taken everything away from Ashford. But if they had a small park and ride somewhere outside Ashford, instead of these great big car parks for everything else that are far too expensive, small park and ride, minibuses, and then big stores like Debenhams, which went years ago, been empty ever since, they then could put multiple independent shops in there that overall their business rates only equaled what Debenhams would have been paying, so it would be a lot less for all the individual stores, because it's a big shop, it's 3 or 4 stories. Then that would, and then if you had an out-of-town park and ride, then you could get people in and out and everything else. And if the park and ride ran between the town and also the MacArthur Glen, you've got a brilliant shopping experience in the town.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that these huge out-of-town, slightly out-of-town or whatever, these complexes, and like Westfield, actually, which is in my manor in Shepherd's Bush, that there has to be a social cost. These shops have to pay. And again, when Westfield was first started, it's expanded now. It used to cover just 14 postcodes, and now it covers many, many more. It's huge, right? It's absolutely revolting. I hate going there. But when they were getting planning permission, they had to pay £6 million towards Shepherd's Bush Green. And if they spent £6 on it, I'll be surprised. But also to support the high street shops as well. And I think that's what these big out-of-town shopping malls should have to do. That they should, part of the money that they have to pay should go to support the local shops that people might prefer to use.
Well, yes. I just don't know why some of these towns, though, aren't thinking creatively about how to use things, how to use park and rides. And like all our little villages around here, if you had a decent bus service that actually serviced the park and ride, so that was a kind of central place, so that people could come in and out, get on the park and ride, go into the town centre, have a really nice day, but you reduce the business rates. Because another problem I find is I do a lot of craft work, Albany, textile, etc., but so much of what I want I can't get locally. And you go into a shop thinking, I'll get this here. You go in, well, we've got this, but we haven't got that. Well, so I have to go online. I've got no choice about it.
I think they do it deliberately because they want us all online. Because if we're buying online, it's cheaper for them than having a store that they have to pay to staff and they have to, you know, pay tax for and rates for and all of that.
But if they reduce the business rates for the physical shops, like we keep crying out for them to do, so that you could get back the smaller things like, I mean, well, I don't know how old you are, but, you know, I'm in my 60s, right? But I remember the wonderful little hardware shops where you could get just about anything that you wanted, however obscure they were. They were brilliant shops.
Yeah, I've got a place near me, which is one of those shops that you could literally, if you went in there and said, I'm looking for a unicorn, he'd go, yeah, I've got one out back.
I know, they were just wonderful. A bit like, you know, there's the wonderful Enid Blyton stories where they used to go on 5 away and they used to go out for the day and used to go into this shop and buy everything they needed for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Fishing nets, chocolate cake, the lot, and they'd sit on the train and sit all... Those were shops.
It's like the Roadrunner, isn't it, with the Acme, a company that makes everything or whatever it's called. Then you could buy a bomb, they'd buy everything in this one shop.
When I was small, walking up to my local shops where the chap used to get the... I mean, I'm not that old, but I used to get... You know, I used to go into the little hardware shop, but I used to buy my little Matchbox toys and my sweets, and then I'd go to the next bar and the chap would get the cereal down from the counter behind me. But you could buy anything you wanted up there. And then I could get in the shop and get on the bus, go into town to Romford to get anything there as well. But the trouble is, I think progressively over time, you notice with fashion, they push you down directions they want to go down.
Well, like banks.
I don't want to go into B&Q and buy only grey wallpaper.
Yeah, exactly. They make you go online. And they also, with banking, they push us all into online banking so that they can close the local branches. And I think that's what a lot of these big stores are trying to do, certainly furniture stores. They don't want us to go into the shop. We're a nuisance. You know, we ask things. If you just go online and buy it, we'll deliver it.
I know, they don't like that.
They don't like us. They don't want us there.
I refuse to use self-service. I won't use it anywhere.
No, me either.
Because I used to work on a till, and it takes away the till people's jobs. And yet, when you look at those self-service ones, I don't think I've ever been through one and not had to call someone over.
Me either. Me either. And maybe that's because we're idiots. I don't know. But young people seem to manage it.
I got Student of the Year for an IT practitioner's course. So I'm sorry, I'm not an idiot.
Have you still got the certificate up somewhere?
Yeah, I got the Dover Harbour Board Student of the Year out of 15,000 students in my 40s.
Oh, well
over and above all the 16-year-olds.
Oh, I'm proud of you. That is amazing. I wouldn't even be able to hang it up on the wall, but because I am an idiot. But yeah, I listen. I think that there's a lot that is our fault. But there's also, we're being pushed down that route, like I said, with the banks, and they'll close all the banks off because they don't like customers. None of these places really like us. They don't want us there, and they'd rather just have some AI deal with us online. It's cheaper.
But I also think it's partly our fault because we've got far more money. We've got far more to spend our money on now. You know, when we were growing up, back in the 80s, 90s, we didn't have the stuff to spend the money on. It wasn't out there, but we live in such a materialistic world now. There's so much out there, and most of it you can't buy in all the shops. You have to go online. So that's partly the world we live in as well now. I think that's anyway. That.
Yeah, I mean, I'm horrified with myself at the speed at which you can buy stuff now, because like when we were kids, we would save our pocket money and then, like I said, go into town, buy that single. Right. I mean, everybody, it's like a kindergarten in the control room in there. They're all kids, right? So they don't understand this. And now they just download the record. Whereas we used to save up, and it was the loveliest thing in the world to go into a shop and buy that #1 single, wasn't it? It was the best thing ever. But now the speed at which you can buy things, the speed at which you can get that music, the speed at which you can watch a film on your phone is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And if I'm at home and I'm thinking, oh, I need another pot of paint, or I need something, online, 2 seconds later, and it's delivered the next morning.
I know, and I don't. You know, I don't like that. I hate it, actually. I really hate it. But it's the world we live in.
I hate myself.
I've got to get used to it.
I hate myself for it, but I love the convenience of it. And I don't know how they do it. It's like magic. But it is so convenient. But the speed, everybody wants... If I'm looking on a particular marketplace and it says delivery in 2 days, I'm like, are you mad? I'm not going to wait that long. And it's something that I don't need, right? It's something that I'm planning to do the week after.
Yeah, it's instant.
We need it instantly.
You know, the same with all the online food, the lot.
Yeah.
Everything. You know, you can go to an Uber Eats, or well, I've never used that because I just don't like takeaways, and I don't know how people can afford to buy them all the time.
No, I don't either.
Don't know either, because I can't afford it. So I don't know how people afford that. But you know, I think it's partly, frankly, the world we live in as well.
Yeah, it's now.
You want it. You want it now. You cannot cope without it now, and I think that's very, very, very sad.
It is. Like I said, even stuff that I literally do not need, if it says it will deliver it in 2 days' time, I'm like, no, I'm not having that. I want it delivered tomorrow for no reason whatsoever. It's lovely to talk to you, Louise. You sound like you're cut from the same cloth as myself. Great to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. Now, a quick break, but I'm back in just a moment.
Across the UK on DAB+. on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you through until 4 o'clock. Some more messages for you on the High Street. Parking in Salisbury is a nightmare. I read that as Sainsbury's, I don't know why, but Salisbury is a nightmare. They've reduced areas where you can park, and they've decided the motorist is a cash cow. This is the point I was making earlier. People go elsewhere, including tourists. If you've got a lot of shopping or you're disabled, buses are impossible, and they think they have a captive audience. Yeah, all of that is absolutely bang on. I completely agree with that. They don't think about people who are a bit different, who might need different things. And that's from Joanna in Salisbury, and thank you for the wishes, and same to you as well. Keir Starmer has personally approved cutting back briefings for journalists, despite saying that the press must hold politicians to account. Downing Street is facing a backlash after announcing that the 2 daily press briefings of the Westminster lobby should be reduced to 1. Do you agree with that? I mean, the less I hear from these people, the better, frankly, but sadly we do have to hold them to account. One of those people is Ross Clark, who's a columnist at The Sun. What are we hearing here? Ross, is it? Good afternoon to you, by the way. What are we hearing here? Is this a bad thing?
Yeah, it's not unprecedented. It's Keir Starmer really going through the same process that so many prime ministers have gone before him. You know, as time goes on and criticism gathers around his premiership, he's sort of retreating into the Downing Street bunker and wanting to face reporters rather less than he did in the past. Having come to office, of course, praising the free press and so on, all, you know, great part of British democracy and so on. But now it seems he doesn't quite want reporters being exposed to government spokesmen quite so much as before. Journalists have been promised more press conferences instead of these sort of twice daily press briefings, but they're really sort of ad hoc things which don't necessarily, you know, occur on a day-to-day basis.
Does it matter though, Rod? In reality, I mean, we'll cry foul, right? Because we're journalists, but and we want access to everything all the time. But does it really matter when it doesn't appear this government or any government really is doing that much that they need to tell us about it twice a day?
No, it does matter very much that you know, government is accountable and answers the questions which are put to it. I mean, the government's sort of argument is that, look, you know, maybe newspapers and even the classic TV stations, the big TV stations, aren't quite as powerful as they once were, and maybe the sort of new media, the bloggers and the
he's on TikTok now,
and so on, and TikTokers are sort of more important. And you can see the government thinking that they sort of think, well, we want to get our message out more with those sort of people, those new media people, to engage with a wider variety of the population, and maybe people who don't take a newspaper or don't watch TV. And but I think it's going to sort of, and you know, Blair tried the same thing, you know, 20 years ago. He was sort of trying to promote the sort of bloggers and so on, and he seemed to have this sort of fantasy that they were going to be more on his side than were the sort of traditional press, but of course they weren't. And you know, the bloggers started attacking him just as much as the classic press did. So I don't think it's going to turn out any differently this time. I mean, if you retreat from your daily press briefings, then you're still going to get held to account. I mean, unless you're actually going to start jailing journalists and jailing bloggers and so on.
Well, we're seeing
you're
that
still going to get held to account.
Becoming a reality in America, possibly. Look, the thing is also, Ross. I mean, I've literally been around the block so many times, and I'm very old now, and I've tried all through my career to interview politicians and to hold them to account. I now pretty much refuse to interview them because I don't see the point. So I'm not sure in these press briefings or you know, that even with some journalists who have got bigger backbone than me, who can keep pushing and pushing and pushing, do they ever tell us anything anyway? Do they ever tell the truth anyway? Do they ever stand by what they say in truth at that moment?
Well, if you tell an untruth in the sort of press briefing, that tends to get sort of found out, doesn't it, really?
Doesn't stop them from woollying around
no,
though, does
no.
it?
I mean, these press briefings, I mean, they're not sort of fronted by Keir Starmer himself or other ministers, really. They're more press spokesmen, as so on. But you know, we got used to it, didn't we? During COVID, we had those daily press conferences, and
they were a joy.
They were a joy, weren't we? Did they help us?
No,
they probably didn't necessarily help us sort of understand what was going on, but they did. You know, they did expose a certain amount of the way that the government was trying to manage the news flow, and of course they were televised, and a lot of people during COVID didn't have anything else to do other than watch sort of daily press conferences. So it was almost a sort of...
it was a highlight.
It was a bit of a liberalisation, wasn't it, the whole thing? But yeah, no, I mean, normally these are sort of quite dull events, I think. I'm not a lobby correspondent, so I don't go to them.
Yeah, I can only imagine just how boring they are, and yet still considered vital. But are we seeing the right kind of pushback from journalists at the moment with politicians? Because they obviously don't like pushback.
Yeah. Well, of course. So bear in mind what's happened over the past few months, which could possibly have led to the government to have a rethink. Of course, we had the most agonising budget in history, when day by day we had stuff briefed about the budget through this sort of process, and it sort of created this idea where everybody was going to be whacked with some new tax. Every day the government seemed to dream up some new way of taxing us, and in the event it just sort of frightened businesses, it frightened consumers, the housing market gummed up and people stopped buying houses.
That was deliberate, right, Ross? That was because then, but by the time we get to the budget, we go, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Well, exactly. It's
gaslighting us.
Management. So you need people to think things are going to be really awful. When they're merely awful, we're sort of pathetically grateful, aren't we? But I think the government doesn't want to repeat that sort of process, and that's maybe what has sort of fed into this decision to sort of limit the press briefings. But of course, you know, the fact that they hold press briefings doesn't mean that they have to leak the budget. I mean, many governments over the past 50 years have held twice daily press briefings, but they haven't sort of leaked the contents of the budget. That was the government's own.
Well, now we know that the spring statement is March the 3rd, I believe. They'll start doing that. They'll start leaking for that soon, surely.
Well, no doubt. We're going to have 3 months to look forward to that.
I know. Happy Christmas, everyone. Do you think, though, that our politicians here are held to account enough? I mean, not just by the press, although the sort of the first wave, isn't it, of defence against politicians is probably a free press. But is the press getting weaker, do you think? I mean, I fear, because I look at what's happening in America with the press and the cancelling and the suing and all of that, that if there were to be a change towards the press in this country, then it would weaken the press here. And I'm very proud of the fact that we do currently have quite a robust media landscape. Is that weakening in your view, Ross?
I think nationally, no. I think although fewer people buy newspapers these days, they still break stories, and that gets taken up by social media and so on. I feel that nationally the government is held to account, but what I really fear is locally. It's local government, the decline of local newspapers, which has really preventing councils being held to account, and sort of things that bloggers might be a little less interested in. And I think, councils now are getting away with the sorts of things which, they would not have got away with in the past. And the sort of, we had a sort of woman fined for pouring the dregs of her coffee down the drain by some sort of Nazis employed by the council. That sort of thing, and the waste and the expanded chief executive salaries and so on, what's going on at local level, I really do worry about, and we really need a stronger press at that level, stronger media.
I absolutely could not agree with you more. And my bugbear is councils and how they are taking us for fools. They really are, and wasting our money, and then playing roulette with it as well. But investing in shopping malls and things like that never get built, or hotels that never get opened. It's like, what are you doing? That's our money. You can't play with it in that way. Completely agree with you. Ross, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a good Christmas, don't you? Ross Clark there, columnist at The Sun newspaper, which is just below me on floor 10. We've been talking about the High Street, and Mark has called from Bridgend. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
What stops you from going to the High Street?
Very little, actually, but it's more a general observation. Now, I work for a fairly well-known online distributor, and we regularly get orders for, and I am not kidding you on this, a single Mars bar. Get off your fat chuff and go out and buy one. But I mean, they'll order a Mars bar online or a can of Coke. Yeah, it is idleness, pure idleness.
I could not agree with you more. It is bone idleness, and I put my hand up, not just ordering a Mars bar, but I've got two little dogs who hate me leaving the house. But if I run out of milk, I will make sure that I buy a few extra things. But I do confess to getting things that I could go to the shop for, because I'm lazy. I'm bone idle, and I'm lazy, and I hate the rain, and I don't like people very much. So it's like...
yeah, that's a bit of a bummer, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't work well. It doesn't go down well. But I mean, we are getting lazier. That is the truth. We're expecting everything to be delivered to our doors.
I think some of it as well is we are becoming a lot more well-travelled. I came back, I grew up in India until I was about 10. Came back and lived with my grandparents in Britain Ferry. And most of the kids I went to school with, this would have been about 1965, most of the kids I went to school with had never been as far as Swansea, which is 5-6 miles down the road. It was a lot more difficult then. There was none of the bridges and the M4s. But to go to Neath, which was a mile or two down the road, was a big expedition. Ooh, we went to Neath.
It's very exciting when you're a kid and being brought up in the countryside, isn't it?
But it wasn't even really countryside even back then. But it's a lot of it is we've become so blasé about seeing anywhere. New ears kicked in. I go to town, we've seen it all.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, we are spoiled. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
We are utterly ruined, spoiled. Yes. And like I was saying, if I'm ordering something online and I can't get it the next day, I don't want it. I don't even need it the next day. I don't need it for a week or a month. I might not need it.
Yeah, if at all.
Yeah, like if I need some more washing powder and I've still got enough for, I always buy in bulk. So I know I've got enough for a month. And I'll go online to order the next lot. Oh, it's not arriving tomorrow. I'm not having it. It's bad. We're spoiled. We're spoiled. But next time I order a Mars bar to be delivered, I shall think of your lovely accent, Mark, and your lovely laugh. I hope that Santa brings you lots of lovely things and a Mars bar, of course.
Unlikely, yes. But anyway, the only other point I had was with this non-crime,
hate,
whatever
thing,
it
yeah.
is. Yes. I'm ex-army. I came out with a few problems.
Right.
Also, life left me with a few problems. And my friends have now got to be so careful about how they talk to me. If they're nice, oh, Mark, how are you? I'm more than likely to burst into tears.
Yeah, I get that.
It all just wells up, and it's uncontrollable.
Don't be nice to me. I'm like that as well. Especially if I've got a problem, I'm like, if you're nice to me, I will probably hit you because I can't. I'm not going to cry right now. No. But also, if you were military, and I've hung about with the military for quite a few years.
Don't say that.
In a professional in a professional capacity. Oh, that sounds even worse in a professional capacity. No, as a reporter. Let me clarify.
All right.
Let me clarify that. You're a naughty one. And taking the mick is a love language.
It is.
Banter is a love language. That's how you know. If somebody's nice to you, you know they don't particularly like you. If they take the mick, they're your mate.
Yes. Do you know why?
Because you have to.
Because we generally lived in barracks. Now, I've lived with people who despised me as much as I despised them. And you have very fit, very aggressive young men, and the last thing you want to do is have them knocking 7 bells out at each other. So we tend to be polite to those we don't like. And utterly appalling to the people who are friends.
Oh my God, I had the mick taken out of me so much by the military boys and girls. It was lovely. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was just, the banter was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And the sense of humour. And you couldn't be weak, thin-skinned about it. But if you gave back, they loved you even more.
I had a bad meltdown a couple of months ago. And I posted stuff on Facebook. Now, I haven't had a drink until then since 2019.
Oh, gosh.
And I polished off a litre of whiskey. And my friend, the first thing he said, or the first thing he commented upon, was my appalling grammar and spelling.
You see, I really love that. My friendship group, we're horrible to each other, but woe betide if one of them's nice. And then it's like, what's going on? There's something wrong here. And that freaks me out because I think it's so important, particularly if you're in the military, and particularly if you're seeing difficult things and hearing difficult things and living through difficult things. All you've got is that gallows humour to get you through it, and it's so, so important. Oh, Mark, I've loved talking to you, and I love the Welsh accent as well. I love the Welsh. Thank you very much indeed. I've got to take a quick break, but a happy Christmas to you, Mark, and I'll see you in just a second.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing, it is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. This is Talk, and it's Petrie. If you like the cut of my jib, like Reg does, then you can listen to. I'm on the station anyway. I'm sort of a bit invisible, but late night, 10 till 1, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday usually. But next week I'm in this slot, 1 till 4, for 4 days. So that's where you'll find me. Reg just says you've got a couple of dogs, you don't like people, you're incredibly lazy, and you don't like going out much. I like the cut of your jib. That describes me brilliantly. My best friends would tell you that is me. That they genuinely think the sofa and I are one thing in my house. Incredibly, I'm proud of it. I've worked hard all my life. I'm incredibly proud of being lazy. So, Reg, thank you very much indeed for recognising my skills. It's funny because my favourite part of my show, because at midnight it's talkback, so it's a whole hour of just calls, right? It's literally just calls. And I love that. I love meeting people in that regard, but actual people in real life in the high street, horrible. Don't like them. Ian is in Cheshire. Hello, Ian. Good afternoon.
Hi, Petra. I think you need to get out more into that high street, Petra. We have a very big, vibrant shop here in Hamforth in Cheshire. Cars, gifts and balloons. We have the radio on all day. We sing and dance, and we get to know everybody.
What do you sell?
And people come in. Cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards. We do balloons and we do gifts. And everybody who comes in here we know personally, and we get to know them all. And we know about all their ups and downs, and we just have fun. It's great.
Do you let dogs in there?
We let dogs in there. We let everybody in here. We don't discriminate against anybody.
Oh, I like that. That's another reason. That's another reason I don't like high streets. Because if I take the dogs with me, I'm not leaving them tied up outside.
No, you can bring them in this shop. They can walk around. We love dogs, and we stroke them all. We get to know their names, and they come back. We leave water out for them. They have treats, the whole thing. Bring your dog, Petra. Come on.
Sounds like
down
home
to the
from
high
home.
street where it's happening. It is. It's where it's happening, Petra. Come on.
It's where it's I do sometimes use Hammersmith High Street, which is not quite as pretty as what you're painting.
No, but we're about 200 miles north from there.
Yeah,
Come to the
you
north,
see, that might cost a bit in petrol.
But next time you're passing, please come in.
Oh, I would
You'd be more
definitely
than
come
welcome.
in. Ian in Cheshire. I will definitely do. And I've always got a bag full of cards, greeting cards. And every time I go through them, I think, I can't use any of these for that person. So I need to get even more. They're so expensive.
Yeah, support independent businesses. Support the high street, and it'll come back.
I do. If
People don't
my
want to
high
be
street,
sat
I do.
indoors all day long. People don't want to be sat indoors watching daytime TV. They want to be out there and talking to people, getting to know people, and they love it. And we're open to everybody.
Well, I mean, you sound particularly...
We have the radio on all day long as well.
You sound particularly lovely, I have to be honest with you.
Well, we are.
But there's a lot of shop owners that aren't.
Do you want to say hello to my little elf friend called Shelley?
Yes.
Say
hello. Hello, elf Shelley.
Shelley. Come on, Shelley. She's shy. Say hello to
A shy elf? Are you literally dressed as an elf?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. You can't see it. Yeah, she is dressed as an elf.
Reindeer.
And she's one of the best persons in this shop. We're so gregarious here.
Ellie,
we talk to everybody.
Ellie, you know you can go to HR for that.
Shelley.
You know you can go to HR for that, being made to dress as an elf.
No, I know. I don't think he's got an HR.
We don't have HR departments here. We're a two-person band, and we love each other. We love all our customers, and we want everyone to come down, have fun. Whether they buy or not, just come in. We're having a karaoke day tomorrow with the
Amazing.
Pies and all sorts. Look, 200 miles, Petra, drive and have some fun with us.
Well, I'm heading up to Shropshire soon. So does that go past
We're
you?
only 40 miles north of Shropshire, Telford or wherever you're going to go.
Ludlow.
All right. Next time you're passing, we're in Hamforth in Cheshire. Come and see us.
Hamforth. Remind me of the shop name again, so we get as many people into the karaoke day tomorrow.
It's called Special Occasions Cards and Gifts.
Special Occasions Cards and Gifts. Ask for Ian or Ellie the Elf.
Oh, Shelley the Elf.
Oh, Shelley the Elf. Do you dress up as well, or do you just make her dress up?
Oh, I'm going to be a gingerbread man tomorrow.
Fair enough. I've got nowhere to go with that.
Happy Christmas. All the best.
Happy Christmas and good luck with your wonderful shop. It sounds absolutely brilliant. And Shelley as well, Shelley the Elf. Never met an elf called Shelley before. There's always a first time for anything, isn't there? Andy has contacted me by text. Says, Andy here from Suffolk. High streets have declined due to poor management from councils related to both parking and business rates. Yes, I agree. I totally hold them responsible. There's no reason to go to Ipswich as the key shops left the area and it now looks run down. The park and ride is expensive at £4 as a further barrier. Shopping in the local town of Woodbridge is totally different. Small boutique outlets, cheap parking, dog friendly, and it feels safe. It isn't really rocket science, and many people want to drive to the shops. And that is it. I agree with you. It is not rocket science. This is easily fixed, but councils have got to have the will to do that. And Stu Pot says it's Amazon that's destroyed it. Stay where you are. I'm back the other side of the news.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good afternoon. It is Petrie here with you through until 4 o'clock. Let me just check who's with you at 4. It is Nick Dubois. Nick Dubois will be here to take you through until 7 o'clock. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking to Aldo Zilli, that famous chef, and we're going to be talking to him about the changes now to the killing and eating of lobsters. And also I want to talk to him about what I know to be true, actually, because I know a lot of chefs who take an awful lot of care of the animals, and they buy from sustainable sources, and they try to make sure in individual restaurants that they're buying cruelty-free as much as possible in terms of the food that they serve you. So I want to talk to Aldo Zilli about that. Also, Rupert Bell is joining us to talk about the never-ending story of Andrew, formerly known as Prince. So we'll be talking about him and the fact that he's got his guns taken off him now. Boo-hoo. But now, I don't know if they're related, but we're going to talk to Sean Bell, who's a military and defence analyst, because Donald Trump has now said, after going quiet on this issue for a while, we have to have Greenland, and we will have it. So let's have a listen to Trump's actual words.
We'll have to work it all out. But he felt very strongly we need it for we need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need it for national security. We have to have it. And he wanted to lead the charge, so we're making him, Marco, today, a special envoy to Greenland. Greenland's a big deal. Yeah.
And Donald Trump in the past has said that he's not ruling out military action to take it. So how important really is this strategically? I mean, the first question that comes to mind, if there's any military involved or any aggressive takeover of Greenland, that won't go down well with the rest of Europe and with NATO. So to discuss this, I said, Sean Bell, military and defence analyst. Sean, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Petrie, good afternoon to you.
Lovely to see you. Look, we're used to this kind of narrative from Donald Trump. I mean, the Canadians must be a little bit worried about this as well. But he says this isn't about minerals. We've got more oil than everybody else. Problem is, he's got the wrong oil. So it could well be about minerals. Venezuela, he said, was about drugs. It now turns out that that's about the right kind of oil that they've got to be cleaned in American distilleries, if that's the right word. So do we trust that Trump? What is going on here in your view?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth just stepping back just a couple of steps first. I mean, Greenland, most people have only heard of it. There's only 57,000 people who live there. It's been self-governing since, I think, 1979. Denmark actually owns it and worries about its defence and foreign policy. And therefore, and for many years, it was just a sort of frozen wasteland. But of course, with global warming, ice melting, it's suddenly becoming a lot more interesting. And I think there are three issues for me that is one of the reasons why Trump is getting interested. One is defense. He talked about that in the clip you said, with strategic competition in the Arctic, China, Russia, and lots of other people around there. The US have had a military base up there, US Air Force Base, Tula Air Force Base. I think it's now Petrie space, but it's there to track, provide early warning for missile defences, because the missiles tend to go across the pole up there. The second thing is resources. Trump dismissed that, but the harsh reality is, yes, Donald Trump's got lots of oil, maybe the wrong sort, but he hasn't got those the rare earth minerals. And you'll remember that China has been holding America to ransom a bit about that. That'll have really hacked off Trump. And there are lots of rare earth minerals, apparently. But the third one that worries me far more, exactly as you said, is Trump has sort of not ruled out the use of military force, and that has all sorts of profound implications, not only for global security, but also if nations feel that they are going to be intimidated by a country like America, they'll need nuclear weapons, and we'll see a massive proliferation of nuclear weapons. That is not something anybody wants to see.
He went quiet on this for a while, I think because of the embarrassment that the Greenlanders served up on J.D. Vance and Ursula Vance. You know, people refusing to meet them. It was hugely embarrassing as the Greenlanders made it very clear they wanted to remain exactly as they are. Since then, we're hearing that there's been almost like a, you know, spies going in there, Americans going into Greenland and trying to change people's viewpoint and change their mind. There's even been talk about offering each Greenlander $10,000 to agree to a referendum to sell out Greenland. I mean, money is everything to him, right? He can't see that people might not want that.
No, but it'd be interesting to see, you know, is there a price for everybody here? I think what's telling is exactly as you say, there's been recent polls that suggest that Greenlanders want to be independent of Denmark, but they, in due course, they are absolutely seem to be virtually unanimously opposed to becoming an American state. So what's been fascinating, I think, you heard Donald Trump talk about a special envoy, I think it's Jeff Landry is the name. I looked into that because I didn't really know what an envoy was. What it actually means is somebody that your hosts don't have to approve. In other words, they're not asking Denmark. America's just announced it as a special envoy. And I think what's happening here is that with only 57,000 people in Greenland, there are all sorts of ways that President Trump might try to exert influence. Financially is definitely one of them. He's justifying on the back of security, but quite frankly, particularly when Denmark is a NATO ally of America.
Exactly.
This is all really odd.
It is very, very strange. And the other thing that I find strange is him citing Russian boats or ships in that area when I thought Russia wasn't a threat to anybody. You know, I thought Russia was the innocent victim of Ukraine.
Well, I think what you're seeing here is a little bit of worry that actually you've got a relatively weak country like Greenland, and therefore Russia, could China, could another country step in and capitalise on those resources? It wouldn't be, given that Russia's decided to invade Ukraine for all sorts of reasons, you know, would it be beyond the wit of man for it to decide to go into Greenland that is a relatively easy target? Now, for many years it wouldn't have mattered because there's nothing there, but as I say, with global warming, I think there is quite a prize there. And I think President Trump, rather than looking at it through the lens of how do we bolster Greenland security, how do we help them with their independence, how do we help them maintain a democratic nation, the way he seems to be approaching this is somewhat sinister.
Yeah, I mean, also, I did bring into this conversation Venezuela because a lot of people are now saying, well, he said the quiet bit out loud. He said, we want the oil. You know, I don't think he was at one point saying it was about drugs. I think that was obviously not true, since fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela. And these boats that they keep blowing up, you know, they haven't got the power to even get to America. So it was clearly not about drugs. It's about regime change and putting in a puppet who will allow him access to those oil fields, which have got the right kind of oil in. He keeps going on about, we know that this is absolute nonsense. He hasn't got the right kind of oil that they need in America. But there's a worry there, isn't there, with, again, that if he goes in militarily, that changes everything in that region.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff here, to be honest, Petrie. If you look at this, if you step back, you know, China's been going into all sorts of parts of Africa. Russia has been doing the same in the hunt for scarce resources and providing all sorts of military aid in not quite a takeover, but, you know, basically controlling minerals around the world. And that's not something democracies have done in the past. I think what you're seeing here with an American First campaign is playing very, very dangerously with the rules of democracy, the rule of law. And I do wonder, you know, through great power comes great responsibility. You've got the most powerful nation in the world. Really, up till now, has always set a great example as being the leader of the free world. It's not looking that way at the moment.
Indeed not. And in fact, it is making other South American countries very nervous because they think they're next.
Yeah, No, understandably so, but I don't think it would just be those countries. If you are trying to secure oil, I mean, let's be clear.
Canada.
America's got vast supplies of oil, and therefore it can export some of those, generate wealth that can therefore import what it needs. You don't need to control everything. A democracy and a vibrant economy means you can buy stuff in. I think what's happened with the rare earths is because America has been trying to put tariffs onto China. China said, okay, but we'll stop giving you rare earths. And rare earths are so vital to technology that Trump suddenly found himself out-trumped when it comes to looking at negotiations. Therefore, I suspect Greenland's more about that. Venezuela, I think there's a whole mix of stuff there. But quite frankly, I think the leadership in Venezuela has become an irritant. And all that's happened is Trump's decided he wants to do something about it.
Which is, I mentioned Canada because he's also said the same thing about Canada. And do you think that Mark Carney will now be thinking that this hasn't gone away? This whole idea that that's going to be the next state of America. He knows that Trump hasn't dropped that, right?
Well, yes, but it's very difficult to see Trump following through on that. I think what we are seeing is Trump always likes to negotiate from a position of strength. And therefore, if you've got this threat hanging over you, then doing a deal, Trump would always expect for that deal to come out favourably to him. I think where we're seeing the dichotomy is that day one of Trump's presidential time, he said he was going to end the war in Ukraine, and he has the tools to do that. He could make life very difficult for President Putin, but for whatever reason, he's chosen not to do that. So there are some really strange actions going on here that I think the threats to Canada are more for leverage. Why doesn't he do the same with Russia and potentially bring this horrible war in Ukraine to an end?
One word, compromat. That's all I've got to say on that. Before I let you go, Sean, there's been another huge move, actually. We mentioned Ukraine, and this is Poland. Poland are extremely nervous. They've increased their defence budget. They've increased the number of military personnel. They are going hell for leather to prepare for an invasion by Russia. They're really taking it seriously. In fact, they scrambled jets in response to some behaviour from Putin.
Yeah, I mean, having recently been in Poland, for historical reasons, they feel the heat of the Russian invasion of Ukraine far more than we do here. And understandably, they've increased their defence budget markedly. But it wasn't that long ago. I think it was the 9th of September, a whole load of drones, 21 drones, Russian drones, found their way onto Polish territory. And they weren't to know whether they were cruise missiles or explosive or the like. And therefore, it's no great surprise that every time Russia, who last night was targeting energy infrastructure, it appears in Ukraine, a lot of it to the west of the country, close to the Polish border, that means that Polish air defence systems, its radars and its F-16s, its fighter jets were launched. I think what's really tragic here, and I hope we'll see a far more robust response in 2026, was that it was only 10 years ago that a Russian aircraft flew into Turkish airspace. Turkey shot it down. There was absolute apoplexy from President Putin, but ever since then, Putin has never put a fighter jet into Turkish airspace. We have to deal with these things robustly. Simply being kept on the back foot is emboldening Putin, and therefore I hope we're a lot more robust when it comes into the new year.
Yeah, because there's always a danger, isn't there, with these fighter jets? And a lot of people will say to me, why aren't we're flying? We've got all these planes in NATO. We can do all of these things. And the danger is if one is shot down, that's an act of war, and if we shoot one down, that's an act of. So they just rather than. That's why this is quite significant to me, with Poland doing this and saying, look, we're not putting up with this. You're getting too close for comfort, and we're going to show you our teeth. But that brings with it some fear, doesn't it? Some danger.
Well, yeah, I don't think I'd call you out a little bit, Petrie. Shooting down a Russian fighter isn't an act of war if that fighter or those drones are in your airspace. Yeah. They shouldn't be there. Everybody's entitled to defend their national airspace. And Putin, whether it's 3 jets going into Estonian airspace, whether it's military drones going into Romania or to Poland, that is an aggressive act. That needs to be dealt with robustly. And if we don't, all that happens is Putin will try his hand even more. We have to stand on that wall, and we need to be robust.
Oh, you say it's not an act of war, but when that ship was in international waters, getting dangerously close to Britain, Putin did say, if you sink that, even if it does go into British waters, that is an act of war. So he would turn it into an act of war.
Yeah, I think the rhetoric is one thing. We saw
Right.
that the Yatsen, it was in international waters, quite rightly. If you attack somebody in international waters, that is an act of war. No problem at all. What we're talking about here is the best way to deter war is to prepare for it. At the moment, we've had 35 years in this country of not spending, of massive reductions in defence spending. There's a wake-up call at the moment. And as a military guy, if we do not prepare for war, Russia will be emboldened and have a go at us. You can't just outsource this to the military. As Ukraine are finding, war comes to you. It's your families that suffer. It's the dreadful attacks last night. 650 drones, a load of missiles came in as well. Putin needs to be managed. He needs to be recognised that the threats far outweigh the benefits if he messes with NATO. We have to be robust. That's the only way to deter Putin.
Briefly, where are we on the peace deal, do you think? And is it ever going to come to anything?
Short answer, very unlikely. All the talks in Berlin, lots of optimism, but quite frankly, Putin was nowhere near that. MI6 boss said there's no evidence whatsoever that Putin's even remotely interested in negotiating anytime soon. So I don't think prospects are looking good for a peace talks anytime early in 2026.
To mark the 4th year as well, goodness me.
Well, heading for the 5th year.
Heading for the 5th, yeah, I know. Extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. Sean, thank you very much indeed. I wish you and your family a happy Christmas. And thank you for joining me. Sean Bell there, military and defence analyst. I'm going to take a very quick break, but I will be right back.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good afternoon. It is Petrie here with you until 4 o'clock. And Prince Andrew, formerly known as, of course, he's Prince Andrew. It's a habit. I've got to get out of that habit. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he is known, Mr. Windsor. Oh, you must hate that. He is, of course, it gets deeper and deeper, the poop that he's in, and we saw some more images of his time with Epstein, and not just his time with Epstein, but also sort of embroiling the whole royal family in it. I mean, this is what Charles must have known. He must have known about this stuff coming down the pike. When he finally said, right, we're taking all of your titles off you. Well, now Andrew is not only Mr. Windsor, but he is Mr. Windsor without a gun, which is probably a good thing. He has now had his certificate to shoot taken off him, and he's a keen shooter. He goes on shoots all the time, the kind of shoot that you and I would see as being a bit posh. But he, you know, with his mates, with his posh pals, going and shooting birds probably. He's believed to own shotguns and rifles by James Purdy and Sons, apparently a very good brand, of course. And he sent a lackey to speak to the police, visiting him at Royal Lodge in Windsor in Berkshire last month. The ex-prince then agreed to give up his certificate after discussions. I wonder why he had to give up his guns, though, because he's not been found guilty of any criminal offence, which is what I thought got your licence taken off you. Anyway, let's talk now to Rupert Bell, Talk Royal commentator. Rupert, I mean, it's knock after knock for this man, isn't it? He's not going to be happy with this one.
No, I don't think he is, and I know that he has been shooting this season, which runs sort of technically for the kind of shoots that you may be alluding to, pheasant shooting, partridge shooting, which he's been part of, you know, which actually, if you look at what was supposed to have happened in Sandringham in 2000, some of these pictures, it was a shooting party, yes. And referred to as a shooting party, a perfectly normal thing. So it is something that has tried to give him a degree of normality in the lifestyle that he is used to. Of course, for most people, a day's shooting is something they would never do. But for him, it's fairly normal routine. But to take his shotgun license away, I mean, I'm not privy to the details of this. So, you know, in my case, it would be speculation. But, you know, I do know there are strict rules about having a shotgun, and it is something that the police take very seriously, that you need a shotgun license if you're going to own one, and there are strict rules governing the use of that shotgun license and you have got to be totally responsible for that gun. So I understand, but in this, it just feels for him it will be another blow away from taking for something that he enjoyed doing, and there were friends still prepared to invite him for a day's shooting. So I don't know whether that has an impact on that, these new regulations, but obviously for him it is a further indication that he's certainly not able to fulfill anything like his normal life, even with the loss of title and everything else that's going on around him.
Yeah, I'm like you, Rupert. I'd be interested to see what the police's justification for this is, because he's not been found guilty of anything apart from being incredibly unpopular with everybody at this stage. We have to say that. It'd just be interesting because he's got no criminal convictions as to why they took his licence off him. But it will be interesting to find out. I think he's allowed to use the gun if he's accompanied by somebody, a babysitter, I think, but he's under strict supervision. So he
yes,
won't. Yeah.
And I would have thought that's probably easily to sort of manage, and there probably may be rules of usage. So who he's with, who might be a designated person to hold his gun in his name that he might be able to use under very strict guidance. So it is a sort of muddy waters.
Well, it's embarrassing, isn't it, for him if he's out with his cronies as well?
Yeah, exactly. So for the whole thing, I mean, he is struggling to find friends. It looks like he's going to be spending Christmas in sort of almost on his own, because obviously he doesn't appear, he's not going to Sandringham, and his daughters seem reluctant to spend Christmas with him. Certainly one of them, Beatrice, is going off skiing, I believe. She may have already gone. So, you know, it's going to be a lonely Christmas for him. But you know, of course, he's always strenuously denied every allegation.
Yeah.
And while yet more revelations coming out of, and sort of allegations coming out from these Epstein letters that, you know, might be almost some of it might be sort of wild sort of conspiracy theories within these letters. But again, he's at the heart of it. He is the one that is easily and perennially beaten with this one. He's the easy one to have a go at. But of course, even now, the allegations, you know, President Trump in the mid-90s, he flew on the private plane of Jeffrey Epstein on countless times. But again, we don't know. And he's always strenuously denied that he's ever been implicated in anything. So it's all very unseemly. But Andrew is the one who does seem to be the fool guy in this. But the reason he is the fool guy, because he did that disastrous interview in 2019, and it all unravelled after that, because
And he's particularly arrogant. There's one thing that the British public, you know, they like a bit of, you know, people being a little bit humble, which he has never displayed, ever. And I think that has also stitched him up. But we always forget when we talk about this whole Epstein thing that Fergie was incredibly embroiled with Epstein, constantly phoning him and asking for money. She's into him for millions of pounds that she's never paid back. I wonder where she's going to spend Christmas. Will that be interesting to see if she spends it with her favourite ex?
Well, I think now that's sort of as they want to be seen to be sort of going separate ways. And this is, again, very complicated, you know, but again, she got herself in this mess. She does have a rubber ball tendency that she sort of, over her life, she can bounce back and pop up again, and sort of everything sort of back in the garden is rosy. So, but anything around Epstein is always going to cause complication. The one thing, Jeffrey Epstein, of course, absolutely all the behaviour absolutely despicable, but he was very good at getting the very wealthy around him. That was his DNA. That was as much as a drug to some of all the allegations around what he was doing with the young girls and all that setup. So he was a very shrewd operator, and so in many ways probably Sarah Ferguson thought that he was a way to tap up that one of his friends might forward them some money. I mean, these are all allegations, but again, it just shows that their choice of friends was so injudicious, and Andrew admitted it. You know, perhaps he should have been more clever about his choice of friends, but he kept going back for more.
Well, exactly, and so did Fergie. She was involved with Epstein way beyond what would have been seemly to be involved. There's a part of this new release. There's an email from from Balmoral. I wonder who that is. From Balmoral. Asked Jeffrey Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, for inappropriate friends. New documents released by the DOJ show the sender saying, "Have you found me some new inappropriate friends?" And the sign-off reads, "See ya, A. Kiss, kiss, kiss."
Well, this is where you go, right, what is that? You know, you can put two and two together, but we mustn't always jump to conclusions, because I think there's some of the letters and things, if you're reading this latest tranche of letters and the sort of reports surrounding them, there's a lot of people, there's some sort of speculations and not necessarily all the most trustworthy testimonies. So, you know, this is all where we've got to be a bit careful. But again, if, you know, that letter on the face of it doesn't look great if or you take it at face value. So again, but at the same time, you've got to approach these with a degree of caution. But for whatever, Andrew's associations of friends, and as you alluded to, his arrogance is legendary, and he has so seriously hoisted himself by his own petard that you just wonder how much more indignity he's going to suffer, as we've been talking about the loss of his shotgun license. What else is to follow? I mean, he's in Royal Lodge for, I assume, is his last Christmas before he moves up to the house near the Sandringham estate.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's a little bit more to this that I just want to read. It was sent from an address using the alias, the Invisible Man. a pen name that was also used alongside a separate email listed in Epstein's phone book as the Duke of York. It's all coming out, but obviously, as we have to say, and as you've said, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has denied all wrongdoing, has not been found guilty of anything, which is again why I'm surprised about this this gun licence being taken off him. Do we know yet, Rupert, where he's going to actually be living? We've seen a few little rundown cottages that might.
Yeah. Well, I think that there is a cottage up on the Sandringham estate that I think is being prepared for his visit, and for him it will take, I think it's needing to be renovated, and then he will vacate Royal Lodge sometime in the new year. How long that is, I don't know. It may be 3 months, 6 months, but at the moment he will continue to remain in Royal Lodge, and presumably the only sightings of him will be looking rather forlorn, riding his hack around Windsor Great Park. And you know, he will be cutting a lonely figure, but you know, the time for sort of self-analysis is well gone. He should have looked at what he was doing a long time ago and sort of analysed that this was not creating a good look. And if you go back to the Maitlis interview, he thought that he was absolutely nailed it. But
he really did. He came out there because my friend Sam McAllister was in the room. She was the one that set up the interview. She's been one of my best mates for a very long time, and she phoned me and she said, "I can't believe it. He actually thinks that went well." I mean, that's what I mean about that level of arrogance, right?
Well, yes, and I know, you know, stories about that arrogant behaviour that you know, at times you just think, what planet do you live on? And this is the problem for him. He does not live on a planet that 99.9% of us live on, and he has no self-awareness.
He probably thinks he's hard done by right now.
I think he probably does, and that's the problem. But the royal family have said enough's enough, and William certainly is in that category, because it just endlessly is negative headlines about the royal family. You know, they would be wanting positive news stories, whether it be about the Princess Wales's Carol concert, which will be broadcast tomorrow. You know, they always do the walkabout on Christmas Day, but again, it will be overshadowed because it will be look who's not there stories, you know, and that's part of the problem. And are the daughters seen? So again, the Andrew story will be part of the narrative on Christmas Day, whether the royal family like it or not, because, you know, as we said, what are we doing, what are the daughters doing? You know, and that might be because they often go there, and the royal family are very supportive of Beatrice and Eugenie. So, but they're in a bit of between a rock and a hard place. Loyalty to their parents, royal family. So it is all part of the narrative that is creating negative headlines for the royal family when they want to try and get on the front foot. But every time another letter or tranche of letters comes out in this Epstein files, it's yet more sort of allegations against Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
I think we should send him a thank you letter for keeping us gainfully employed.
Nothing I can say about that. That would just be inappropriate. That would be inappropriate.
That would be inappropriate. I'm always inappropriate. Rupert, thank you so much. Have a wonderful Christmas, won't you? Rupert Bell, Talk's royal commentator. Oops. Quick break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK on DAB+. on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie, and I am with you until the top of the hour, and then Nick Dubois will be here to look after you into the evening, and then after him, Duncan Barks. You remember him? He's sitting in for me at 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock, and this is my last day before Christmas, but I am back on Monday between 1 and 4, and I'll be doing that most of the week. But another story that was hitting the headlines today is that Downing Street is publishing its welfare strategy, which sets out a series of new farming and food standards and banning trail hunting. I talked about that yesterday. The boiling live lobsters and crabs will now be banned by ministers under animal rights reforms. It's an animal welfare strategy published on Monday. The government said live boiling is not an acceptable killing method, while also setting out new farming standards. So joining me now to discuss that is, from a chef's point of view, is the wonderful Aldo Zilli, Italian chef, and he joins me now. Aldo, it's very good to see you, looking incredibly handsome. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Listen, I thought that you can't cook a dead lobster.
What do you mean you can't? Well,
I mean that they have to be that fresh, right? You have to. That's why they were dropped into boiling water. No.
Well, I mean, you know, if you go and buy a frozen boiled lobster, then maybe it's okay. But if you buy a dead lobster, it's not okay. They have to be boiled before they sell them. So basically what I'm trying to say here is, are we going to police all the chefs that are going to be doing the right thing and not, you know, putting the lobster in the freezer for a little bit before they put their head in the hot water, or even the stabbing head with a sharp knife is the kindest, although it sounds awful, is probably the kindest way of killing a lobster. Now, what I'm trying to get at is they're not giving us alternatives. Okay, they don't want us to boil lobsters and crabs, and sure enough, soon enough it'll be all shellfish, if it's not already.
So how do you cook a mussel then? Is that a shellfish?
Well, yes. It is. Clams, mussels, you know, langoustines, they're like the scampi of this world. So it's going to be tough to police for the government to tell us what to do now, as if the hospitality industry is not been in a great place in the last year or so. And now they're telling us, you know, also there's a big shortage of lobsters and crabs because of the octopus eating them. And you know, it's very difficult. This new law now is going to be, I mean, it's going to come anyway. It's been coming for years, I think, because even when I had fish restaurants, that we were told the same thing, and that was about 25 years ago.
But do you think, Aldo, that this is really to do with people not associating what they're eating with something that's had to be killed for them to eat it? They're a bit squeamish about that part of it.
Well, you know, I don't like, you know, killing animals. I'm an animal lover. You know, I live in a very beautiful countryside place here, and there's wild animals all over the place, from deer to all sorts of wild animals I've got here. Yes, but we have to eat. And I know people say, well, you can eat vegetables. Well, I'm sure we can, but people that don't like that kind of diet, then we have to cater for that. Because being a chef and a restaurateur and a consultant for the hospitality industry, I think it's crucial that we do the right thing, and we have to keep obviously within the law.
I mean, I think you know my sister, and through her, Claire Bosey. So through her, I know, you know, a lot of the workings of chefs, and through the magazine, the Chef and Restaurant magazine, that a lot of you guys take animal welfare incredibly seriously, actually, and you try to only, you know, you try to buy your product from people that you know treat animals well. They're often better flavour for a start, right? So, but why have chefs got this sort of reputation for not really caring about animal welfare when I know that not to be true?
Well, I think that's an old-fashioned reputation the chefs have. The modern chef is completely different than when I first arrived in this country. The modern chef now is very local. No mileage. Their food must come from not very far away. My turkey just arrived today from my local farm here, not about 2-3 miles down the road. So we are, you know, in the zone of caring for what we put on people's plates, and I think that it's here to stay. The younger chefs are doing it even better. You know, the gastropubs are doing exactly the same thing if they survive with what's going on in the world of the hospitality industry again. I know I'm banging on about that, but that's a big problem with that we have with the government. But you know, we have to also trust us that we do the right thing.
Yeah.
And with the killing of shellfish is a total trust, because it can't be policed, in my view.
What is the best way, in your view, to kill a lobster? The quickest, most painless way?
Well, you know, again, we look at us chefs, but the supermarkets, they sell lobsters. What do they do? How do they buy them? Who's killed those lobsters? And how have they been killed?
Yeah.
You know, the best way is obviously, for me, the least painful way, although I said earlier that is probably, you know, it sounds cruel, but a very sharp knife to the right point of the head, and then it's dead in seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, every animal that we eat was alive at some point. Well, I think we've got to stop being so judgmental about that if we're going to eat them, right?
Our turkey that we're going to eat the day after tomorrow was alive.
Hopefully not when you shove it into the oven, though. Aldo, thank you so much. Have a very Merry Christmas, and I hopefully speak to you in the new year. Aldo Zilli there, Italian chef. Well, Peter Egan joins me now, who's an animal rights activist. Peter, is that the problem, is that we don't, if we eat meat and we eat fish, is that we're squeamish about how they've ended up on our plate, and we really have to acknowledge and take responsibility for how that's ended up on our plate?
Yeah, I think 100% that's absolutely true, yes. I think most people don't associate what, you know, a plate of meat coming from an animal, and most people are very squeamish about it. I'm a vegan, so I talk to a lot of people about my diet and the fact that I choose a plant-based diet because I can't stand the cruelty. There's no way that you get any kind of animal on your plate without a journey of cruelty. I'm very, very pleased that the government is at last taking it very, very seriously and trying to find a more humane journey as far as that is concerned.
In terms of the lobster?
In terms of the lobster or any animal. I mean, any animal that you eat is cruelly killed. There's no such thing as humane slaughter. There can't be. Taking a life is cruel. And I mean,
but is it as humane as it can without us all becoming vegan? I mean, because the way that animals are treated in many countries with slaughter is that they're stunned first, and then they have to be able to. I don't want to make it. They have to be exsanguinated, right? So that's it. It sounds dreadful and horrible, but in the world that we're in, is that the least cruel way of doing it?
Stunning.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think stunning doesn't always work. I mean, if you think pigs. Pigs are gassed. They use CO2, they put them in cages and they gas them. And within 30 seconds, I don't mean to be too graphic, but their eyes bleed, their lungs bleed, and their intestines bleed, and it's agonizing for them. That's how most pigs are killed, and at least the government is addressing that. In my research, a lot of stunned animals are not entirely stunned, and they are then hooked up by their leg, and their throats are slit, and they're degutted. I mean, the whole journey is awful, and I'm sure your listeners don't want to hear about those journeys anyway.
But we should hear about them. That's the point, isn't it? And this is the whole thing with the lobsters. If you're going to a restaurant and you're ordering a lobster, that was alive before you started tucking into it. Yeah. And it's sort of this disconnect that we have with food.
Indeed.
Which I think if everybody... I mean, I very rarely eat meat, but I do eat it occasionally. Yeah. But to not accept that you're part of that killing is to avoid your responsibility, right?
100%, yes. I mean, I think it was Paul McCartney who said 40 years ago, if slaughterhouses had windows, a lot of people wouldn't eat meat. And that is the point. You have to take responsibility for your appetite, and you have to take responsibility for the fact that you are playing into the cruelest system on the planet when you are eating animals, because it's a business. Aldo Zilli there was talking very compassionately about animals, I thought, and in his role as a chef, it is a very difficult decision. But at least he was talking about it in a way that to give the animal the best journey to the plate, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but I do agree with him that most chefs now, they are more local, they are more sustainable. They will, if I go and buy meat, I will go to a butcher's that I know doesn't use halal methods, for example. It's very much more expensive.
Yes,
but they can tell me the provenance of said creature, even a name if I want it. So in that regard, I'm at least facing the animal, you know, looking at it.
I think there is a huge more focus on getting local produce, yes. Yeah. But nevertheless, you can't get it without killing the animal.
That's true, absolutely.
And that is cruel. No matter how much you massage the animal to the slaughterhouse, once you get in the slaughter, animals know, they can smell it, they feel it, and they feel fear. And I've watched film of animals in small slaughterhouses and big slaughterhouses. The response is always the same. It is extreme fear. And animals know they're going to be killed.
Yeah.
And so I personally made an ethical choice about 15 years ago when I watched a film called Earthlings, which dealt with all kinds of slaughter, halal, kosher, and normals. And it was so devastating, I couldn't speak for 3 hours after it. And I decided then and there that I would never, ever support that system anymore. And I'm delighted that I have. I do understand all of the difficulties that people face in terms of choosing what to eat. And you have to research very, very carefully if you are going to give up a lifetime of eating a certain product. But ultimately, yes, the dilemma is you keep saying, people have to take responsibility for their choices.
At least look the animal metaphorically in the eye.
Look the animal in the eye and say, okay,
I'm prepared to eat you.
I accept the fact that you are going to be killed. I won't do it myself. I'll get someone else to do that for me.
Yeah.
But you're going to be killed, and I'm going to eat you. And that's a system that I find now absolutely shocking.
The thing is, though, with supermarkets, we're so distant now from the original product. It's just there in packs and packs and packs across the way. I mean, although I'm not vegan, I do get it. I do understand that we are pushing people further away from what a cow looks like when it's a cow.
Absolutely. Right. And also, I was in a supermarket recently. going past the dairy department, and a sound of a cow mooing went on as it was having a nice time in the field. And I said to one of the managers, "Could you do me a favor?" And they said, "What?" I said, "Could you turn that off?" And they said, "Why?" I said, "Because the dairy industry is one of the most disgusting industries in the whole animal food chain, because cows are tortured to produce I mean, I know these are dramatic statements, but it's a fact.
Well, they have their babies taken away from them, don't they?
They have their babies taken away from them. And if they're male babies, the male calves, they're to a cruncher straight away. And they are in a state of, dairy cows are in a state of distress all of their lives. And their lives are shortened by 70% by being on that carousel. Conveyor belt. And, you know, there's no point. I don't kind of, you know, tart it all up.
I think that's my point. It's, like I said, metaphorically, at least look the animal in the eye, know that when you've ordered that lobster, it's had to be killed, or whatever you're eating, and take responsibility for your part in that.
What I would say, if I may, is that since I have transitioned to a plant-based lifestyle, a vegan lifestyle, I have personally never felt better in my life. I feel incredibly happy about what I choose to eat. I feel physically 100% healthier than I was when I was eating a carnivorous diet. I have far fewer stomach problems and things like that. I mean, it is something that it is really a wonderful lifestyle if you have the commitment and time to kind of follow it.
Well, maybe you've just persuaded some people to put that on their New Year's list of things.
I hope so. That would be very nice to know.
Well, listen, enjoy your Christmas, and it was lovely talking to you, and I'll speak to you again. That was Peter Egan, animal rights activist.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you. It is Petrie here with you until the top of the hour, and then Nick Dubois will be, I love saying that, Dubois. He will be here in a few minutes' time to tell us what's coming up on his programme, and then after that, sitting in for me, is Duncan Barks. So he'll be here doing the late night show between 10 and 1. Let me read you some messages. Martin says, the reason I won't go into the city shopping. Number 1, I hate cities. Number 2, I hate people. Number 3, I hate travelling. Number 4, too many charity shops, pound shops, nonsense shops. And number 5, online is cheaper and more convenient. And number 6, Merry Christmas. I agree to number 2. Yeah, I hate people. Well, not all people, just most people. Not my people. And anybody that calls or contacts me on this programme, they're my people. And we've got a voice note now from Andy in Telford on high streets and bank cards. Go ahead, Andy.
Just a quick chat about the use of debit cards. Every time you use it, 1.5% goes to the bank. So if you use cash, the retailers get 100% of the money, not just like 98.5%. If you do it enough times, the banks end up with all the money. Nobody ends up with any money.
Very good point, actually. I mean, I always just forget to get cash out, and it's so easy with the tap. And the thing about cash, though, is a lot of people use cash only if they're budgeting, because you can see what you're spending, and I completely get that, because I can go out and come home and look at my thing. How have I spent 100 quid? What have I spent that on? It's just like tap, tap, tap. It all just happens, doesn't it? It all happens for you. This is Gary and Bolly Power. Hi Petrie, we've been travelling around the world since March, and by far the worst high street experience we had is in Brighton. There were kids fighting in the street and people shouting at us. A lot of places we've been have a community feeling and are interesting shops with items you can't buy online. I'm in Canmore, Canada at the moment, and the shops are all boutique shops and not really high street names. That sounds like the perfect kind of high street for me. Well, with me now is Nick Dubois.
Hello.
I love saying your name. Dubois.
I think that's why my wife married me.
I'm sure, well, it can't be anything else.
Well, her name was Helen Seaman, so you've got no choice, have you?
She made a very good choice.
I reckon so, yes. I reckon so.
Nick, are you a shopper? Do you
yes,
high street shop?
I do go in the high street, but I'm guilty, like so many people, of doing too much online. But, you know, for every £10 we spend in a local shop and not your Tesco's, about £6 of that stays in the local economy.
Wow.
We really are screwing ourselves by not shopping locally.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very good point, but I am lazy and antisocial, so I tend to buy everything online.
I think you're very social. So.
In a studio I am. You should see me at a party. I'm terrible. I'm the one hiding in the kitchen. Anyway, what have you got coming up on your programme?
Look, our very own Captain Mannering, i.e. the Prime Minister, Starmer, he's announced this climb down, hasn't he, on inheritance tax for farmers. And we're going to dig in, first of all, into a little bit of the substance. What does it actually mean for farmers? We'll be talking to a farmer on that. But I'm also going into the politics. I can tell you now, he's got a very fractious Labour Party. And the idea that you send out for a year your MPs to defend what is a hideous proposal in the first place, and then you sanction the rebels, the one rebel who rebelled and 80 abstained, and then change your mind. I mean, he is literally the grand old Duke of York, marching them up the top of the hill and back down again. He will have made so many enemies from this, and frankly, he deserves it.
Because he was sticking by